Good afternoon. Welcome to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez.
I'm Robert McNeely. It was sunny this morning in D.C., but now it looks a little cloudy. But the Emerald Isle of the White House lawn looking splendid as always. We're awaiting President Trump to meet with U.S. ambassadors as we celebrate the 204th anniversary Greek independence from the Ottoman Empire. So a great day to celebrate with all the Greek Americans out there.
Exactly. And you just saw that coverage within that 24/7 news cycle just yesterday, where President Trump actually participated in a Greek Day of Independence yesterday at the East Room of the White House. So quite awesome to see that. Again, if you miss any of these live events or this coverage, you can always take a look on Rumble or other social platforms with Right Side Broadcasting Network and re-watch any of that coverage. As we are live today, it's 2:30 at the bottom of the hour as the winning continues in Washington. We're seeing win after win, and we're going to see more of it today with President Trump signing executive orders. He's also going to be meeting, as you said, Robert, with the U.S. ambassadors, which, you know, we speak to Carla Sands, a former U.S. ambassador, and how many awesome people are picked by President Trump to represent us around the world. It's pretty awesome.
It really is. And exciting to see, Mike Huckabee going into the role of ambassador for Israel. These are really crucial because they're representing us abroad and spending time in these countries with their counterparts and, of course, world leaders as well. So they not only represent President Trump's agenda, but America as a whole. So it's really an important role, and you need serious people in these opportunities to spread the message of positive populism and peace through strength.
Exactly. Speaking of peace through strength, just yesterday, President Trump signing some executive orders. We actually have a clip. It's about a minute, 20 seconds long, but it's all about the weaponization against we the people. And he signed an executive order just yesterday. He posted that on Truth Social, so we'll go to that in just a second as soon as it's ready. We also have a number of interviews coming up that Robert and I have conducted, and also some live interviews a little bit later in the broadcast. But let's go to just within that 24/7 news cycle at the White House just yesterday.
Sir, your administration has made it a priority both to end lawfare and the weaponization of government, and also to hold those who have engaged in lawfare accountable. One of the law firms that has been involved in that is called Perkins Coie. That's also a law firm that has engaged in unlawful DEI practices. This executive order will suspend security.
And I've watched it take place.
This executive order will suspend security clearances and access to certain federal resources for that law firm, and also launch a holistic review of unlawful DEI practices at some of the nation's largest law firms.
This is an absolute honor to sign. What they've done is it's just terrible. It's weaponization. You could say weaponization against a political opponent, and it should never be allowed to happen again. And you're looking at about 15 different firms?
That or more, sir, yes.
Okay.
That signature becoming more famous by the second because he's signing more and more executive orders. Apologies for the technical difficulties with the audio on that, but still, though, talking about the weaponization against the American people, I mean, that is something, of course, President Trump said he's going to stand there for us and stop all of that junk going on. So looking forward to some more executive orders as well today.
Yes, and President Trump, of course, really it's been nonstop. I mean, we're under 100 days since he's been in office, and they're moving really at that breakneck speed. And I think they know they need to do that. As we covered earlier today, you're really looking at a midterm election where Republicans really have to hold on to a number of seats, and it's a razor-thin majority right now, roughly at a 218 to 213 lead. Of course, the special election's coming up in April 1st, so that's a week from today. And that's likely to see the 1st congressional and 6th congressional districts of Florida go Republican. Can't take anything for granted. These are low turnout elections, so get out there. And of course, to Democrats, there are open seats in their districts in Texas and Arizona, sadly because of the passing of 2 members, but also there's 4 vacancies right now that will change soon, but still with, let's just say that ends up at 220 to 215. It's a razor-thin majority for the House.
Exactly. So looking forward to seeing a lot of wins for the Republican Party moving forward. Indirectly, the America First Party, the MAGA Party. It's what we, the people, of course, voted for in November of 2024. So again, it's 2:35. In about 10 minutes or so, the president's scheduled to meet with a number of the U.S. ambassadors there at the White House. So as soon as we see that, we'll go there live. Also, let's go to a number of other great things that have happened recently. President Trump posting a number of videos and his respect for, of course, our Medal of Honor recipients, as today is National Medal of Honor Day. And we have a few of those videos as well from President Trump on Truth Social that we can play. We'll also, at the end of the broadcast, replay the cabinet meeting from just yesterday. So just in case you missed that, way at the tail end, we'll be replaying that for you as well. So let's go to some of those Truth Social posts and check out some of the Medal of Honor videos right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. And Bobby, you know, President Trump meeting with some of the Medal of Honor recipients earlier at the White House. Just awesome, isn't it?
Oh, it's fantastic. And I love when you hear the citations when they are read and that award presented to each officer. Truly an incredible moment when you see that live and you really think about it. It's read very professionally, but in some cases, you know, fending off the enemy combatants and really risking their lives, as it's so eloquently put, going above the call of duty in order to save people. It looks like President Trump is live there in the West Wing, so we'll toss that to the White House now.
Good job. I watched you on television. How are you? Well, thank you very much. We're going to have a little session today on the ambassadors. It's a group of people that were selected. They're doing very well. They're very far along in the process. And they're going to each introduce themselves and talk about the country that they're going to. They might say a little bit about themselves also, because people are very interested in that. We're also going to sign right now some executive orders. And Will, if you would come forward?
Yes, sir.
I'll start thinking about signing them, right?
Few things for you today, sir. First, we have a pardon for Devin Archer. Devin Archer was a former business partner of the Biden family. He's was prosecuted relating to a fraud investigation, but notably, the tone and tenor of that prosecution changed dramatically after he began to cooperate with congressional investigators and serve as a witness against Hunter Biden and the Biden family. We believe that was an injustice, and therefore we're asking you to pardon him.
And many people have asked me to do this. I think he was treated very unfairly. And I looked at the records, studied the records, and he was a victim of a crime, as far as I'm concerned. So we're going to undo that. All right. That's Devin Archer. Congratulations, Devin.
Next, sir, we have a presidential memorandum for your attention. This memorandum requires the immediate declassification of all FBI files relating to the Crossfire Hurricane investigation. This was obviously one of the instances of the weaponization of law enforcement powers of prosecution against you and others. We believe that it's long past time for the American people to have a full and complete understanding of what exactly is in those files.
Which gives the media the right to go in and check it. You probably won't bother because you're not going to like what you see. But this was total weaponization. It's a disgrace. Should never happen in this country. But now you'll be able to see for yourselves, all declassified. Is that correct? Would you
Yes, sir.
say? All declassified?
Yes, sir.
Everything?
The FBI file with there's a classified annex, but other than that, this will put everything in the public eye.
Is anybody going to look? What about you? You going to look? And frankly, the FBI should be ashamed of themselves, and so should the Department of Justice, and so should Biden. Okay?
Next, sir, we have an executive order for your attention. We've taken action against a number of law firms that have participated either in the weaponization of government, the weaponization of the legal system for political ends, or have otherwise engaged in illegal or inappropriate activities. The law firm of Jenner and Block is one of these law firms. This is a law firm that, as you know, employed Andrew Weissman after he came off of the Mueller investigation. It's a law firm that's engaged in invidious racially and sexually discriminatory practices. It's also a law firm that has participated in the weaponization of the legal system against American principles and values. And we believe that the measures in this executive order will help correct that.
And Andrew Weissman is the main culprit?
He's certainly
with respect to this firm.
He is one of a number of reasons that we believe this executive order is warranted.
He's a bad guy. Okay.
Next, sir, we have an executive order for your attention relating actually to government payments. Historically, checks issued by the Treasury are, I believe, 14 times more likely to become the subject of fraud than electronic transfer payments. This is an executive order that's going to push the Treasury Department to modernize its payment system to ensure that where possible they're using electronic methods of payment as opposed to paper checks in order to reduce waste, fraud, and abuse in the government. Which is obviously an endeavor that we've been pursuing in numerous aspects of government under your leadership.
It's basically modernization of equipment and methods, and it's something that really I think he's going to be a great Secretary of the Treasury wanted, Scott, and so we're doing this, and we have other modernization programs going on. We could let somebody else, whoever's next, whoever that may be, do it, but it's something that should have been done 25, 30 years ago. Okay.
Along similar lines, sir, this is an executive order. We're calling it Protecting America's Bank Account. The basic idea here is that instead of having lots of different departments and agencies and offices issuing payment, often without justification, often without any provided rationale, we're going to be centraling payment processes where possible in the Department of the Treasury and ensuring that measures are taken in Treasury against waste, fraud, and abuse to ensure that money that's leaving the public Treasury is as protected as it possibly can be.
All right. Good. Many of these things should have taken place decades ago or longer.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order for your attention on the very important subject of election integrity. We believe that this executive order is the farthest reaching executive action taken in the history of the Republic to secure our elections. Among numerous other aspects of this executive order, this is going to cut down on illegal immigrants on the voter rolls, ensure that the Department of Homeland Security and the data that they have available is being fully weaponized to ensure that illegal immigrants aren't voting. This will include a citizenship question on the federal voting form for the first time. This executive order instructs the EAC to cut federal funding to states that don't take reasonable steps to secure their election. This calls on the Department of Justice to vigorously prosecute election crimes, particularly in states that we don't believe are in compliance with federal law around election integrity. I could go on for a while, sir, but compliance with National Election Day rules, cracking down and investigating and prosecuting foreign interference in our elections, revoking President Biden's Executive Order 14019, which essentially weaponized government to corrupt and pollute our election process. There's a lot in here, but we believe that these are very important steps that we need to be taking as an administration at your direction to ensure that our elections are as secure as they possibly can be.
Okay, you all understand that? Yes. Election fraud, you've heard the term. We'll end it, hopefully. At least this will go a long way toward ending it. There are other steps that we will be taking in the coming weeks, and we think we'll be able to end up getting fair elections. Perhaps some people think I shouldn't be complaining because we won in a landslide, but we got to straighten out our election. This country is so sick because of the election, the fake elections and the bad elections, and we're going to straighten it out one way or the other. And it's an honor to sign this one. To sign all of them, but to sign this one is a great honor. Thank you very much.
Sorry, sir.
So we're going to go around the room a little bit quickly, and we're going to introduce these very outstanding people. They've had, in all cases, outstanding careers. They're very incredible people that are going along as rapidly as the system can go along. We're ahead of, I guess, anybody else thus far. So I want to thank John Thune. He's done a very good job, and the whole Senate. We're being delayed as much as possible by Democrats, but that's standard. It gets to be just standard. But the process is moving along very quickly. So, Sergio, just say hello, and then we'll introduce everybody.
Absolutely. Sergio Gorham, Director of Presidential Personnel. It's been an absolute pleasure getting to know every one of you every step this way. As the President said, we're at a record pace. We have more nominees today from the Senate than at any previous point, over 70. And that's a record in 2 months. And we're proud of that, and we're determined to ensure the world has America First patriots in all of our posts.
Charles Kushner. I'm going to France and Monaco, and proud to serve under the greatest president of our country. Very proud to serve.
Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
James Blair, honored to work here in the White House as Deputy Chief of Staff. And Mr. President, I think that all of these successful people would want to go serve the United States under your leadership as a testament to your vision and leadership.
Thank you, James.
I'm David Perdue. I'm going to the People's Republic of China. And it's my honor to represent President Trump, people of America, and represent our interests and values in China.
I'm Leah Campos. I'm going to represent the President in the Dominican Republic. Mr. President, thank you for the honor to serve you in the Dominican Republic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Welts, National Security Advisor. Look forward to working with every one of you on behalf of the President, his leadership, and the American people.
John Arrigo. I'm going to the Republic of Portugal, and I'm very excited to do so and serve on what I consider one of my closest friends and one of the best presidents this country has ever had. Thank you.
Kevin Cabrera, nominated to be Ambassador to Panama. It truly is an honor, President, to be part of your administration.
Thank you.
Tom Barrett, nominee to the Republic of Turkey. Delighted and honored to be with you, Mr. President, in that host country, which is one of the most ancient in civilization, is in search for your peace, prosperity, and security program. Thank you.
Good place.
Mr. President.
Good leader, too.
Yeah, Mr. President, thank you. It's an honor I'm Pete Hoekstra, you know that. Yeah. But I am going to Canada. Ooh. I look forward to serving you in Canada and your agenda.
And you do a great job. Thanks, Pete.
Juan Johnson, sir. Thank you for the nomination to represent you and the United States to the United Mexican States. And I'm really encouraged by some of the conversations you've had with President Sheinbaum recently, and to the increase in support that we've seen out of her government along our border on the important issues. So thank you, sir.
They have stepped it up a lot,
yes,
Mexico and Canada, so see how it works, right?
Yes, sir.
Thanks.
Matt Whitaker from Des Moines, Iowa. I'm proud to, as soon as I'm confirmed, go represent you at the North Atlantic Treaty Organization.
Great. Thank you, man.
George Glass, on my way to Japan. Previous administration, I served for you in Portugal. It is a great honor to be able to do this the second time. Thank you
very much
for the opportunity.
Thank you, George.
President Trump, my name is Ken Howry. I'm your nominee to be ambassador to the Kingdom of Denmark, a very close partner and ally. I served for you last time for the Kingdom of Sweden. I want to thank you for the faith you've placed in me as your nominee to Denmark.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
President Trump, thank you for the honor of a lifetime. My name is Stacey Feinberg, and hopefully I'll have the honor of serving in Luxembourg. And I think this is the greatest presidency and the greatest time in history, and it's all because of you.
Thank you very much.
Nicole McGraw, nominated to serve in Croatia, and it's such an honor to be here with you today and to serve you and the American people.
President Trump, thank you very much for your nomination to the Republic of Chile. And let me tell you, Border Patrol agents are so thankful for everything that you've done for them. But it's a great.
Knows more about the border than anybody. I want to tell you. Thank you.
President, it's a great honor. Thank you very much.
Good afternoon, Mr. President. Brian Birch. If I'm confirmed, I'll be representing you at the Holy See. And Catholics are very proud of your work. Your team is doing an excellent job. So thank you. Very honored to serve.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you again for the honor, the greatest privilege. My name is Summers Farkas. I will serve this great man at the Republic of Malta. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. President. Joe Popolo from Dallas, Texas. Very proud to serve you at the Kingdom of the Netherlands, the very first country to recognize the United States 250 years ago. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President, if I'm confirmed, I will be representing you in the state of Israel. It will be an extraordinary honor, and you've done more for Israel than any president in any time of its history, and we are grateful. And I'm hoping I'll get to be there by Passover.
Thank you, Mike. And Mike is an outstanding guy. They all are. And Mike, I think, is going to do wonders for Israel. He actually probably gets along with both sides, and that'll be interesting to see. But the world is watching you, Mike, so good luck. Good luck. You're going to do well. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, thank you for this great honor to serve the Republic of Italy and San Marino. I'm so looking forward to going over there and working with that great ally, and for the pleasure to serve you. Your staff has been great working with us and have done a great job, and we really appreciate them. Thank you, sir, for pushing this along.
And have a good time. A really good time.
I'm Warren Stevens from Little Rock, Arkansas, and I have the honor to represent the President and the United States in Great Britain and Northern Ireland, and to be chosen to go to such an important ally of ours is, I know, sir, and I'm looking forward to it, but thank you for the honor.
You're going to do fantastically. These are tremendously successful people, and you two guys, and then you add on Mike. I think they have a little more money than Mike, but he's got some other advantages. He's got some other, like upstairs, he's got some big advantages.
Yeah, he does.
It's very exciting. It's really exciting to have all of you. Would you have any questions, media, for the people that you just saw? So outstanding, and I thought it would be nice to bring them before you. And so if you have any questions, please.
I wanted to ask about the talks in Saudi Arabia. It sounds like you made some progress on a Black Sea ceasefire. Could you update us on that? What happens now?
So we've made a lot of progress on two fronts, on both sections that we call them. We call them sections, but they're much more than that. Russia, Ukraine, and also the Middle East. And we'll see what happens. We're in deep discussions with Russia and Ukraine, and I would say it's going well, but it's a situation we should have never had to even think about. Should have never happened. And on the Middle East, that's been going on for a lot of years, centuries and centuries. It just keeps going, and we are making a lot of progress. So that's all I can report. But some very, very big talks are going, and detailed talks are going on right now on both fronts.
Mr. President, you said that your national security advisor learned a lesson after a report.
Wait a minute, excuse me, I didn't pick you. Go ahead, please.
Mr. President, the ceasefire agreement that was brokered today allows for third-party countries to help implement the agreement. What does that look like, and who's going to be involved?
The ceasefire agreement?
Yes, the maritime ceasefire agreement between Russia and Ukraine.
Well, they're going to get together. Look, it's they agreed to something and it got broken. There's tremendous animosity. There's a lot of hatred, as you can probably tell. And it allows for people to get together, mediate it, arbitrate it, and see if we can get it stopped. And I think it will. That'll get stopped.
What countries are you looking to work with, sir, to help implement and monitor that ceasefire?
We have other countries involved, and they're involved very strongly in the process. And that'll be resolved. That's actually, as bad as it is, that's the least of the problems. So we'll get that resolved. And we are being aided by other countries too. Yes, please. Yes.
Brian? Tomorrow, the subcommittee on DOGE is going to review funding for NPR and PBS. Now, every Republican president has always promised to take away this money that's going to these two public news outlets. If they're successful, I know Senator Kennedy has backed it, Marjorie Taylor Greene in Congress has backed it. Would you be interested in defunding and taking away taxpayer dollars to NPR and PBS?
Well, I would love to do that. I think it's very unfair. It's been very biased for the whole group. I mean, a whole group of them. And frankly, there's plenty of, look at all the media you have right now. There's plenty of coverage. I was from a different age, and they spend more money than any other network of its type ever conceived. So the kind of money that's being wasted, and it's a very biased view, you know that better than anybody. And I'd be honored to see it end. We're well covered. Look at all the people that we have here today. We're well covered, and we don't need it, and it's a waste of money. Especially, I don't even know what DOGE's recommendation is. I assume their recommendation is to close them up.
Well, after they hear all the testimony, I think they're going to make a decision relatively sooner than later.
Yeah.
But we'll see what that turns out.
I can't imagine that they wouldn't, because they have found so much waste, fraud, and abuse, hundreds of billions of dollars, and just waste, fraud, abuse. You heard yesterday some of the new things that were found. 22 billion just in environment. Billion. You know, if you had 22 million, Warren, it would be nice. But 22 billion put into environmental accounts. One was 2 billion into one account, Stacey Abrams, where they had $100 in the account. And just before I came in, they put $2 billion. And you guys are looking, so you mean 2 million or maybe 200,000? No, $2 billion were put in the account. What do you think of that, Mike? Do you think that's a straight deal? $2 billion?
Just write me the check, Mr. President. I'll take it with me to Israel.
It's a horrible thing, and we have so many of those things. So they've done an incredible job, and the country wants to hear it. I think Doge is actually very popular because of what's happening. They're hearing about all of these scams and for big money, tremendous amount. And when you add it up, just hundreds of billions of dollars being wasted, and much of it's fraud. You know, we talk about waste. And it is waste and abuse, but a lot of it's fraud, too.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian. I just want to follow up on that. If Planned Parenthood is defunded, would you look into the harvesting of baby organs that they've done throughout the years and maybe go after some criminal prosecution on that?
Well, I think you're talking about a subject that is a heated subject. And we'll look into it. We're going to look into everything, but that's certainly a subject that's been debated for a long time, and we will look into it. Yeah.
Mr. President,
some senators have expressed hope that the White House will support a rescission package to codify some of the DOGE cuts into law. Where does the White House stand on that? And are you making progress on that?
Which package?
A rescission package to codify some of the DOGE cuts into law.
You know what? It'll be great. I think we're going to do that. I think they're going to do it. I think we're also going to be codifying a lot of the executive orders that we've done, which have been very popular. And we're looking at one, I will tell you right now, that I think perhaps will be controversial, but not with the people, and that's sanctuary cities. We're going to end sanctuary cities for some of these jurisdictions that aren't cooperating with law enforcement. They're guarding criminals. They're taking the rights away from the citizens of this state and their city. And we're going to be ending sanctuary cities if we find it necessary to do in certain major areas. And we may just end the entire thing altogether because it's just a way of protecting criminals. And nobody else is benefited by that. And for some reason, Democrats want to keep and they want to shield criminals from being sent back to their countries or being sent to prison. And in the meantime, the crime rate has gone through the roof. Under Biden, it was through the roof. It's starting to come down, but we're taking a lot of people out of here. So we may be presenting you very shortly with a executive order ending sanctuary cities.
Mr. President, are you going to change any of the practices that your national security officials used after a reporter was inadvertently added to a group chat about attacks on Yemen?
Well, I think it's a question I've been asked now, and I've given a few answers, and they've all been the same. We have an amazing group. Our national security now is stronger than it's ever been. We have had a very, very successful, numerous attacks on that area. These are people that shoot down ships, not only our ships, ships all over the world. They're shooting down right out of the water and damaging them badly, or they're going down. They're also shooting anything that happens to be flying in the area. We hit them very, very hard. There was no classified information, as I understand it. They used a app, if you want to call it an app, that a lot of people use, a lot of people in government use, a lot of people in the media use. And I think I'll ask Mike. Mike is here. Do you want to respond to that, please?
Yes, Mr. President. You asked about lessons. I think there's a lot of journalists in this city who have made big names for themselves, making up lies about this president, whether it's the Russia hoax or making up lies about Gold Star families. And this one in particular, I've never met, don't know, never communicated with, and we are looking into and reviewing how the heck he got into this room. But I'll tell you what, the world owes President Trump a favor. Under Biden, global shipping was shut down. Pinprick attacks, months between them, our destroyers being fired upon dozens of times. President Trump took decisive action with his national security team, took out the head missileer, knocked out missiles, knocked out headquarters, knocked out communication sites. And for once, as we hear, as you all hear from every one of our allies, thank God for American leadership again. Thank God for American strength. You're welcome, world. And look, we had a national security team that was coordinating these efforts. As Director Radcliffe testified today, his first day on the job, he was introduced to this app on his government systems at the CIA and at the State Department and otherwise. So, look, this journalist, Mr. President, wants the world talking about more hoaxes and this kind of nonsense rather than the freedom that you're enabling. And a key part of our sovereignty is open sea lanes and knocking the crap out of terrorists, which is exactly what your team and Pete Hegseth, a good friend and fellow veteran, is leading the charge on. And it's an honor to be part of it.
We had a very, very successful evening. And we've had numerous successful evenings and days in that area. The Houthis are absolutely on the run. The worst of them has been killed. This should have been done a long time ago by Biden, but Biden was an incompetent president. He couldn't do anything. He didn't know where he was going. He had no clue. This guy had no clue. This should have been done a long time ago. As they shoot missiles at ships, randomly shoot missiles at ships. And they make their own missiles. You know, this is not an incompetent group of people. They make their own missiles. They get the missiles also from Iran. It's an offshoot of Iran, another offshoot. You have Hamas, you have Hezbollah, you have the Houthis. You got a lot of stuff going on with Iran. And we sent a letter to Iran. You're going to have to be speaking to us one way or the other pretty soon because we can't let this happen. But that's an app that a lot of people use. And somebody got on. I mean, I happen to know the guy's a total sleazebag. The Atlantic is a failed magazine. does very, very poorly. Nobody gives a damn about it. This gives it a little bit of a shot. And I will tell you this, that they've made up more stories, and they're just a failing magazine. The public understands that. He's a very good man. That man is a very good man right there that you criticize so strongly. He's a very good man, and he will continue to do a good job. In addition to him, we had very good people in that meeting, and those people have done a very, very effective job, and you're going to see it. And it goes on, by the way. It's going to go on. And I think the Houthis wish that it didn't happen, but that's what it's all about. We have to create a safe country, a safe world, and that's what we're doing.
Do you think national security was put at risk,
Mr.
President?
Use of senior officials using signal
Do I
moving
plan to
forward?
ban who?
The use of signal to communicate from senior officials,
Well,
especially when it comes
I don't know anything about Signal. I wasn't involved in this, but I just heard about it. And I hear it's used by a lot of groups. It's used by the media a lot. It's used by a lot of the military, and I think successfully. But sometimes somebody can get onto those things. That's one of the prices you pay when you're not sitting in the situation room with no phones on, which is always the best, frankly. But the best is to be there. In fact, oftentimes I've been in fact, just last week I was in the situation room on something very important, and we had a couple of people hooked up by line, and I said, cancel the line. Sorry, fellas, what you do is we'll tell you all about the meeting, because I know people do get on those lines, whether it's Signal or anything else. Yeah.
So are you going to change any procedures as a result of this?
Well, I mean, look, we look at everything, and they've made a big deal out of this because we've had 2 perfect months. We are bringing in business. We have another one announced tomorrow, a big one, very big. Like in the history of our country, nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I think probably a lot of people are saying they started by saying it was the greatest first month that a president has ever had, and I think that's true. And now they say it's the best second month, and they had to find something. And this certainly will look at this, but the main thing was nothing happened. The attack was totally successful. It was, I guess, from what I understand, took place during, and it wasn't classified information. So this was not classified. Now, if it's classified information, it's probably a little bit different. But I always say you have to learn from every experience. I think it was very unfair the way they attacked Michael. He's a good person. The person that was on just happens to be a sleazebag, so maybe that's just coincidence. I don't know.
But you are going to conduct
Would
an
it be a
investigation,
problem if
Mr.
the
President?
Atlantic released all the text messages if they're not classified?
Well, I don't know. I'd have to ask the military about that because maybe you wouldn't want that. I don't know. I will say this: that from what I heard, the man that we're talking about, who's not somebody that I don't think most people have ever heard of, he left. He found it very boring, and he left early. He got off the line very early. So I can't speak to it other than that. So he's made up a lot of stories, and I think he's basically bad for the country. But it's a failing venture, very failing venture. They're very upset, and a thing like this is publicity for them. But I don't think we should allow people that are very good, like that man sitting right at the end of the table, who's done a great job. We shouldn't allow them to be hurt by it. Yeah, go ahead.
Are you saying you're okay with the continued use of Signal by administration officials?
No, that's not what I said. I said we'll look into it, but everybody else seems to be using it. It seems to be the #1 used device or app, whatever you want to call it, and we will certainly look. If it was up to me, everybody would be sitting in a room together. The room would have solid lead walls and a lead ceiling and a lead floor. But, life doesn't always let you do that. In the meantime, the attack itself that we were talking about and discussing has been an unbelievable success.
But you will conduct an investigation, is what you're saying into this.
We'll look into it, sure.
Mr. President,
I would look into it, sure. I want to look
Is that
into
the FBI?
anything like that. I would ask them. It's not really an FBI thing. It's really something having to do with security. Security, like, will somebody be able to break in? Are people able to break into conversations? And if that's true, we're going to have to find some other form of device. And I think that's something that we may have to do. Some people like Signal very much. Other people probably don't. but we'll look into it. I think, Michael, I've asked you to immediately study that and find out. If people are able to break into a system, now in this case it wasn't that this attack was going on and nobody found out anything. And again, the person that was on, as I understand it, he left very early because he didn't find it very exciting. But I think it's something you should look into.
Yes, sir, we are. We have our technical experts looking at it. We have our legal teams looking at it. And of course, we're going to keep everything as secure as possible. No one in your national security team would ever put anyone in danger. And as you've said, and we've repeatedly said, the attack was phenomenal and it's ongoing. But the media wants to talk about everything else except for the hostages you're getting out of the Middle East, Iran on its back foot, sea lanes getting reopened, peace in Europe. As we just saw today with a Black Sea ceasefire, we were just on with Steve Witkoff, myself, our team in Saudi Arabia. They want to talk about all this other stuff except for your amazing successes and the successes of your team.
One of the other things, and sometimes you have to move very quickly, and there are other devices that are very good, but they are very, very cumbersome, and you're not able to use them and from a practical standpoint. So all we can do is find out the best we have with modern technology. They'll probably get better over the years. Yeah, go ahead.
Sir, on the Black Sea, so the Kremlin has said that there were several conditions that would need to be met for this agreement to happen. This includes sanction relief for banks and some companies. Did the U.S. agree to all of those conditions that they laid out?
They will be looking at them, and we're thinking about all of them right now. There are about 5 or 6 conditions. We're looking at all of them.
The White House has said that it's looking into how journalists got added to that signal chat. Is it possible that there could be a firing of even a lower mid-level official once that person is identified? About the signal chat that we've been discussing.
We've pretty much looked into it. It's pretty simple, to be honest. It's not. It's just something that can happen. It can happen. You can even prepare for it. It can happen. Sometimes people are hooked in and you don't know they're hooked in. They're hooked into your line and they don't even mean bad by it. But it's not a perfect technology. There is no perfect technology. The really good ones are very cumbersome, very hard to access. And I think we're going to look at, we always want to use the best technology. This was the best technology for the moment. But again, it wasn't classified, so they probably viewed it as being something that wasn't that important. And it obviously, with the attack being, I mean, I don't know if it's been read out to you yet, but that attack was a tremendous success for the U.S., a tremendous success.
Who said the information
Go ahead,
was
please.
not classified?
Do you think that Mike Waltz made a mistake, and does he need to apologize?
No, I don't think he should apologize. I think he's doing his best. It's equipment and technology that's not perfect, and probably he won't be using it again, at least not in the very near future. What do you think?
Yes, sir. I agree with you. Let's get everybody in the room whenever possible.
A lot of times you find out defects by exactly things like that, but I don't think it's something we're looking forward to using again. We may be forced to use it. You may be in a situation where you need speed as opposed to gross safety, and you may be forced to use it, but generally speaking, I think we probably won't be using it very much.
The Secretary of Defense, on that chain, the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, and J.D. Vance, the Vice President, said that the Europeans were freeloading. Do you agree with that assessment?
Do you really want me to answer that? Yeah, I think they've been freeloading. The European Union's been absolutely terrible to us on trade, terrible. And as you know, NATO, I got them to pay hundreds of billions of dollars. They were way behind. And if you look if you look at Ukraine, so we're in for $350 billion because of Biden. Should have never happened, this war. All these dead people should not be dead. All these broken cities that are demolished down to the ground, those gorgeous towers, the most beautiful in the world, the most beautiful spires in the world. The spires in Ukraine were said to be the most beautiful of all. Just about every one of them is lying on its side in a million pieces. It's so sad to see what's happened to a heritage. No, I think that when they say the European Union and you could say NATO also. Look, NATO, and I don't blame NATO for this. I don't blame Europe for this. I blame Biden for the fact that he didn't make them equalize. And to this day, I said to him, you got to catch up, you got to equalize. But why are they in for $100 billion and we're in for possibly $350 billion? It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. And you could say more important for them because we have an ocean in between. So, you know, it's one of those things. You'll be seeing Liberation Day. I call it Liberation Day in America. You're going to be seeing it on April 2nd. Didn't want to do it on April 1st for the obvious reason, April 2nd. But you'll be seeing tariffs. And I think I've been very fair. I have them set. But I think I've been very fair to countries that have really abused us economically for many, many decades.
Mr. President, all that information was not classified.
Another question? Please, go ahead.
Just following up on your comments on the economy, there is reporting that consumer confidence fell for the fourth straight month. What is your message to Americans who are concerned about
terrorism? Well, I know this, that for the first time in like 50 years, right track, wrong track, we were on the right track. And I think people see that. And if you look at prices, prices are way down. You know, when I first came here, the first time I met with you people officially, they were screaming at me about eggs. I said, I've been here for a week and I'm being yelled at about eggs. Egg prices have come down 45–50% in the last week and a half. And our Secretary of Agriculture has done a great job, as you know, Brooke. She's done a fantastic job, and others working with her have done a great job. But we brought eggs down at a level that nobody thought we could get at. I inherited that situation, and I inherited a grocery situation. The groceries went way up, an old-fashioned word, but it's a very descriptive word. Groceries have gone through the roof. And I used to campaign on it. I used to say we're going to get groceries down, and we have got it down. I watched a certain newscast over the weekend, and a congressman, Democrat congressman, said, well, Trump's done a lot, I agree. He's been great on the border, he's been great on the military, but, you know, he hasn't brought prices down. That's false. Gasoline's way down. Eggs are way down. Groceries are down very substantially, but down. Almost everything's down. Now, I'd like to see interest rates come down a little bit, and you're going to see billions of dollars, even trillions of dollars coming into our country very soon in the form of tariffs, because we were abused by presidents that, frankly, in all fairness, it wasn't their expertise, but they had no idea what they were doing.
Mr. President, you say tariffs will create more jobs here in America.
Oh,
so
yes, yes.
which states?
It'll create a lot of money and more jobs. But if you look, so in the last, these gentlemen would know about it, and ladies, because some of the ladies are great businessmen in this room that are becoming ambassadors. Great, really great, top of the line. When you look at the number of companies that have said, like we're close to, I would say close to $4 trillion. We never had numbers like that. The number one chip maker in the world from Taiwan coming in with $200 billion. We have Apple. Look at Apple. $500 billion. $500 billion. They're going to build plants all over the United States. They were all being built in China. You have many, many companies, and maybe above all, you have the car companies coming in at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We have Honda is opening up one of the biggest plants in the world in Indiana, and many car companies are coming in. We have AI. We're leading China by a lot in AI, and we're going to keep it that way because we've made it very good for them, and we're going to protect them. Once they're here, we'll protect them through taxes, through incentives, and also through tariffs. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, watching live coverage there from the White House, 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. President Trump, a 2-for-1 for us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. We were thinking he'll be signing the executive orders over in the Oval Office, but he signed them prior to the meeting with the U.S. ambassadors. So thanks so much for streaming this live with us. We have a lot more to come here on Right Side Broadcasting Network on this Tuesday, March 25th. Let's first go to Colonial Metals Group, freegoldguy.com/RSBN. all about a tax-sheltered IRA, a 401k backed in gold and silver. And Robert, isn't it great? You get a free gold guide right away off the top with that website.
Absolutely, and it's no obligation as well. It details from the year 2000 to now, gold up over 840% in its value since that time, up over 7,000% since 1971 when we went off the gold standard. So some discussion there with the reporters and questions regarding oil reserves and that wealth. Well, how about securing your wealth as well and your great retirement with Colonial Metals Group, a great organization, perhaps the best. It's great to talk to Paul Stone about these assets and how crucial it is. So go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN or scan that QR code now to shield your savings.
And speaking of free, let's go to freetrumpbook.com, freetrumpbook.com. And speaking of U.S. ambassadors, Mike Huckabee, of course, the U.S. ambassador to Israel. So all you have to do is go to freetrumpbook.com. A lot of great topics there. Always good to get the right information into the minds and hearts of the youth, but also in the sense of just a refresher on the Constitution and on the courage of President Trump. And, you know, on the left side of the aisle, they may be indoctrinating in ways. This isn't indoctrination. This is just simply saying, hey, common sense. This is what happened. And here's the true history of the president.
Yes, and this is a great way to not only get this for your tiny ones at home, those little patriots, but those neighbors who might have their heads in the sand. And it's exactly 9 months, again, happy Annunciation Day, till Christmas. So why not start with this bundle? You get a free Christmas ornament with the free Trump book. And the best part about it, it's free. Only pay for shipping and handling. So a great stocking stuffer for those who are very prepared before Christmas. How's your shopping go, Matthew? Is it more
With
of
Christmas?
something? Yeah, is it more last minute, or do you like to do it ahead of time?
A little bit of both. 80-20, 80 probably towards the last minute, but it's always good because you still get the good stuff. And,
exactly.
Everybody's happy. So it's always good to have that at 3:21 Eastern Time, Tuesday, March 25th. I'm Matthew Alvarez alongside Robert McNeely. Thanks so much for joining us here, streaming in live with us. All right, so we also want to tell you about one other great product before we continue on with our broadcast here at Right Side, the Trump plane. This is patriotaddictdeals.com, patriotaddictdeals.com. 20% off. RSBN is the code to use, RSBN20. So, Robert, you have that here, or is that up in Illinois where you're originally from?
I'm not sure, actually. I think it's up in Illinois in storage. We'll see what happens. But I need to bring it onto the show so you can see it all. These things go fast. The Trump Force One, almost an exact replica of the campaign vehicle that President Trump did many flyovers in. We saw that on the tarmac in PBI as well. So it's gently sleeping and relaxing right now, of course. The real one has the American flag on the back, but this one has the beautiful presidential seal for you. And that's really quite something to see a 757 do a flyover just feet above the tarmac. That was always a very riveting time with the Top Gun theme in the background.
Yeah, always cool to hear that. What a great moment that is to experience. And who knows, when it comes to even the end of President Trump's term, if he's going to be rallying for the 48th Commander-in-Chief, we'll see what happens. But get that plane, patriotaddictdeals.com. All right, switching gears now, the Foley Foundation president and founder Diane Foley said yesterday, we congratulate the Trump administration for securing the release of George Glesman, wrongfully detained in Afghanistan by the Taliban for over 2 years. So this was actually last week when this happened. But we actually caught up with the Foley Foundation, one of the staff members there, Benjamin Gray. Robert and I interviewed Benjamin just yesterday. Here's that interview. Joining us now on RSBN is Benjamin Gray with the Foley Foundation. Sir, thank you so much for joining us.
Of course, thank you.
So could you talk to us about the Foley Foundation? I know the mission statement is to advocate for American hostages and wrongful detainees held abroad and promote journalist safety. I mean, outside of that, this is something that's great for people that are in terrible situations.
Yeah, unfortunately, our mission is that we're helping families who are in the most desperate of situations, their loved ones being held by terrorist organizations or by nations, by rogue nations who are seeking to influence U.S. government policy. They're really pawns in the middle of a global game.
And Coach Bruce Pearl at Auburn University made headlines really over the weekend calling for the release of those remaining hostages from Hamas control. Do you join him and echo him in that, with Edna specifically wanting to come home to the United States? But are there other hostages that American citizens might not be aware of?
Yeah, of course, the hostages, particularly at least in the United States, the Americans who were taken by Hamas have been front and center, and quite deservedly so. We're really looking forward to the release of Adnan Alexander, the last American believed to be alive in Gaza, along with 4 other Americans who've passed, but their bodies are being held by Hamas. They really need to be reunited with their families for proper observances and burials. Yes, there are at least 39 Americans who are being held, and by our count, we do this research every day around the world. That is likely an undercount because that is what we can identify from what is being publicly reported, but also from families that approach us. Some cases are private and they choose to remain private. So those numbers are at a minimum. And so there are, at this moment, at least 6 Americans being held in Venezuela. There are at least 4 Americans who are being held in Russia. There's at least 1 American being held, probably 2, being held in Iran. So these, these individuals are really being held in a variety of situations by a variety of actors around the world. And I think it's important for Americans to understand that they are being actively targeted by these nations, and certainly traveler safety is important, but there needs to be much more done from a deterrence and prevention standpoint to ensure that Americans stay safe. We are this fiscal sponsor, and we support a group of families called the Bring Our Families Home campaign that represents 11 families that have come together to advocate for their loved ones as a group. And their website is bringourfamilieshome.org. We'd really encourage Americans, but certainly we need the media, and thank you for the opportunity to raise their cases, to get know their names, get to know where they are, and that more needs to be done to bring them home.
And just within the 24/7 news cycle, just last week, George Glesman, of course, being held by the Taliban, being released, yes, thanks to President Trump. Your thoughts about that? And you guys highlighted George's situation, of course, being a part of the Foley Foundation.
Of course, we're super excited that George is home, that he's reunited with his wife, Alexandra. He was there far too long, and we're very excited that he's back. The Trump administration has done a phenomenal job in the first 60 days of President Trump's presidency, his administration. By our count, at least 14 Americans have been brought home in that period of time, which from our research would indicate that is a record pace for bringing Americans home over that particular time period. So we're incredibly grateful for, as are the families, for the action that the administration has taken to bring them home. This administration, right in the handover, also brought home William McKenty and Ryan Corbett from Afghanistan. I would be remiss if I did not mention that Mahmoud Habibi, an American citizen, has been held for over 956 days in Afghanistan and really needs to be brought home as well. The administration also indicated last week that there may be as many as 6 other Americans, the names of which we don't have, also being held in Afghanistan. So there's a lot more work to be done, but certainly the administration has gotten off to a very strong start with respect to this issue.
And why, in your estimate, are you seeing such quick success under President Trump in regards to the previous administration? Because we've had people, as you mentioned, that have been there for nearly 1,000 days in captivity, but it's only been roughly 60 plus days of a new administration and getting people back home in that short period of time.
Yeah, so I think there's at least 2 reasons. One would be that this administration seems to be a little less process-oriented in terms of going through a very deliberative, time-intensive process to evaluate criteria, consider, get the memos up through the administrative channels to consider this for individuals to be prioritized for release. They seem to be much more indexed on just taking action when they see Americans who are being held, and not so much hung up on process. So net benefit, I think, to those who are being held, that they're much more likely, at least what we've seen so far, to see more quicker movement. The second piece to this is, as a new administration takes office, often both allies but also adversaries sometimes want to curry a bit of favor with the new administration, want to show that they're willing to negotiate, that they'll be partners, to reset relationships. And we're seeing some of that clearly. That's the start of a new administration play out here as well. And I would also say, third reason, the president has put in place a number of special envoys and has deployed them very quickly. This is also sort of beyond the normal set of people you would involve or typically are involved in tracking these matters within the government, but clearly individuals that the president has invested with a lot of personal trust and are able to have conversations with foreign leaders fairly quickly and fairly directly. So that sort of if you want to call it man-on-man defense, but it's really offense, I think has borne some fruit early on in the administration.
And finally, Benjamin, thank you again for joining us here. If you're just joining us now, this is Benjamin Gray with the Foley Foundation. Benjamin, can you talk to us about James Foley and what the foundation, how it started with James?
Yeah, of course. Thank you for asking. So Jim was a conflict journalist covering the Syrian civil war, and was really focused on highlighting the plight of the Syrian people in the middle of the Syrian civil war. Certainly, highlighting the cases of those who would not otherwise get attention. Really, the effects of the war itself. He was captured by ISIS terrorists in 2012. Was held captive, tortured for nearly 2 years before being brutally murdered, publicly beheaded in a viral video that ISIS put out for propaganda purposes. The foundation is here to ensure that that doesn't happen to other Americans and other American families don't face the situation that Jim's family did, particularly Diane's, his mother, where there was no one place to go in the U.S. government. There was no organized approach to supporting families through situations like this. She found that she had to go everywhere and talk to anyone. And it's really difficult to navigate the U.S. government even today. But because of her advocacy and the foundation's advocacy, we now have a structure in the U.S. government that is focused on hostage matters and also wrongful detainee matters. They provide direct support to families. It's still not easy, it's still not arduous, but there is a place to go and there are people to hold accountable, and that's part of what we do.
Benjamin Gray with the Foley Foundation, thank you guys so much for what you do, and especially just recently with George being released from the Taliban and highlighting that here. So thanks again for what you guys do, and thanks for joining us on Right Side.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right, it's 3:33. Thanks so much for watching right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We have a number of interviews coming up, including live interviews. We'll be right back here on RSBN Live.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed, so join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hello, this is Mike Huckabee. President Trump said he wants to take back the White House and teach our kids to love our country. That's why my team created a Kids Guide to President Trump. It'll teach your kids all about President Trump's accomplishments and his vision for America. And right now, I want to give it to you for free as part of this free gift bundle.
Get your free gift bundle featuring the Kids Guide to President Trump, a free kids magazine, and the Great Again video lesson by visiting freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Welcome back to RSBN Live, looking live, of course, at our nation's capital and then the White House, and we are live here in the great state of Alabama. I'm Matthew Alvarez alongside Robert McNeely. Let's talk about the propaganda outlet, the Atlantic, and how earlier today the DNI director, Tulsi Gabbard, says no classified material was shared in the group chat. And then from the White House, they're saying that Jeffrey Goldberg is well known for his sensationalistic spin. And here are the facts about his latest story. So this from the White House, that, quote, there were no war plans were discussed. No classified material was sent to the thread. And the White House counsel's office has provided guidance on a number of different platforms for President Trump's top officials to communicate as safely and efficiently as possible. So as the National Security Council stated, the White House is looking to how Goldberg's number was inadvertently added to the thread. And it finishes saying, thanks to the strong and decisive leadership of President Trump and everyone in the group, the Houthi strikes were successful and effective. Terrorists were killed, and that's what matters most to President Trump, end quote. That from the White House. So putting that story to bed. But, you know, it's interesting. Again, these people that are on the left, they only go after the false narratives as much as possible.
Well, and President Trump and National Security Advisor Michael Waltz really putting it on the table during that meeting with the future United States ambassadors. And President Trump said, quite frankly, we're doing so well that you're really nitpicking a story here. And of course, if you were watching earlier today, we went to that Senate Intel hearing, and CIA Director Ratcliffe to, of course, DNI Director Tulsi Gabbard, of course, FBI Director Kash Patel, saying in many cases, you have to let this play out with the investigation. And they were very forthright on every single question. And that's what I don't understand. Whether it's Democrat or Republican, whoever the party is in power, sometimes the opposition party is trying to make a point. And we saw Senator John Ossoff, especially from Georgia, not allowing Mr. Ratcliffe to answer the question. You know, you ask the question, then you let them answer it. And many of these people are attorneys. They've been in litigation. You would never go after the witness in such a way the judge would say, hey, order, stop, don't do that. That's not allowed in my courtroom. So these have become somewhat of circuses that take place with these hearings, and then we actually don't get down to the answers. And as I mentioned earlier this morning, if Democrats are so concerned about transparency, what about General Milley, who said he went outside of the chain of command to talk to the Chinese premier right before President Trump left office the first time? How about Hillary Clinton? 33,000 plus emails that were bleach bit. and done. And thank God for President Trump's executive order you just saw signed that will release all details on Crossfire Hurricane. So for the journalists out there, we can now go read that and find the truth for the American people and allow them to decide. So the Democrats want transparency. Maybe they should look into things like that.
Exactly. Truth and transparency on the side of this president and these all-star patriots that are leading each of these cabinet positions throughout. So looking forward to seeing an interview that we have actually coming up with Russell Fry, the South Carolina congressman. That's at about 4:05. In the meantime, Robert and I interviewed someone on the West Coast in San Diego. So when we say stories inside the Beltway there in Washington and outside the Beltway, these are the kind of stories we're talking about. Now, the San Diego supervisor, Jim Desmond, has been on the broadcast before. He's staunch about MAGA and also closing that southern border, isn't he?
Oh, he's outstanding. And it's great to see, again, outside the Beltway, as you mentioned, Matthew, with the stories that really affect your neck of the woods. And you'll see here something that you might not be aware of, especially if you are a resident in San Diego County. I was surprised to hear this story. You think the mainstream media would be on top of this, but another problem coming from our friends down south in Mexico. We'll toss that to that interview now and you'll see for yourself.
Joining us now is San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond. Thank you so much for returning to Right Side.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Definitely. Last time you were on, we were talking about sanctuary cities, and also you were talking about the president saying he's doing a great job with the southern border, but there's something else happening, the Tijuana sewage crisis. Can you talk to us about that?
Yeah, unfortunately, this has been going on for decades, and the border crossings, took precedence over taking care of this issue at the border. But we're getting hundreds of thousands of gallons of raw sewage a day coming across the border through the Tijuana River and contaminating our estuaries and our ocean. We've got a city right near the border, Imperial Beach, our southernmost city. And Imperial Beach has been closed for over 1,000 days. That's well over 3 years because of the sewage and coming across the border. And unfortunately, whenever rain occurs, then we get much more, much more of it comes across, and systems are overloaded. We do have a treatment plant here on the U.S. side being paid for by U.S. tax dollars, but it's not enough to treat the amount of sewage and rainwater runoff that we get from Mexico. And I hope this issue, with the president was able to stop 95% of the border crossings. Hopefully he can stop 99% of the sewage that's coming across the border here in San Diego County as well.
And Supervisor, what's the first step in this process? Because clearly the last administration did not seem to address this. You really didn't hear this story in the mainstream news. Will it go first through the president's administration and then down to state and local governments? Or how do you address something that could be a health contaminant for your residents?
Well, this is primarily the federal government. I mean, this is a federal border. It's coming across. The county, we don't have the resources to take care of this, and then the state refuses to do anything about it. But we do have, the new EPA director, Zeldin, is on his list. He has said he has gotten a briefing about this, and he wants to take care of it. I think now's an opportunity, particularly when we're dealing with Mexico and the cartels and fentanyl and everything else, that we put this on the pile as well as saying, hey, we have to stop all these other bad things coming across. Sewage, should be one of those as well. And unfortunately, we don't have the capacity to treat it all. And Tijuana has these big, cement culverts that meander through the city, and people unfortunately dump their garbage. They put their trash. They put lots of things in there, and eventually it gets washed away downhill across the border and into the U.S. And so I'm hopefully going to be traveling to Washington, D.C. soon to talk to the EPA and other folks about getting this cleaned up or stopped at least at the border instead of just flowing here into San Diego County.
Can you talk specifically about the solution in the sense of what would be the actual first step to getting something like this done?
Well, I think, unfortunately, it always comes down to money. And right now, the Tijuana itself does not have the money or the sewer system itself to manage, what all they produce. Right, the plant that we have on our side actually takes sewage directly from Tijuana and processes it, but we just can't handle the capacity. I think we need to get, unfortunately, maybe pay for sewage treatment plants in Tijuana, or at the last resort, just dam it up before it comes across the border, and you keep your sewage instead of importing it into our country. So it's going to take treatment plants, it's going to take money and resources, but we just can't have, the county, we've been giving people along the border, we've been giving them these air purifiers and things like that for their homes because the stench is so bad. It's very isolated, whatever those purifiers clean up. It's just in the air, and every time there's a big rain event, we get more. So I'm trying to get this message to DC and to other folks to say, hey, while we've got leverage, with Mexico right now, why don't we get this mess cleaned up again? So first steps, I don't know. I'm not a sewage engineer. I just know it should not be coming across.
Exactly, and I was surprised to hear that in Imperial Beach, right? I'm surprised to hear that that's been closed for so long. So the beach is closed. What about the town there? Is that what
the beaches are closed. Yeah, the beaches, the town is still open, but it's a tourist town. The beach is one of their biggest attractions, surfing and things like that. And we also, upstream from that, we have, Coronado's, another place where it's a big tourist attraction. And right around the corner from Coronado is where our United States Navy SEALs train. They train a lot in the water, and the water here is becoming contaminated because of this sewage runoff, and we understand SEALs are either not doing that training here or they're taking it elsewhere. This is, a national defense issue when our SEALs can't train and the water that they're in is contaminated because it's being sent over from Mexico, from Tijuana, which just can't handle their resources, and it's having a negative effect here in San Diego County.
How do you think we'll get the Mexican government to react to this? Because it sounds like somewhat of it relies on, natural disasters or that runoff that naturally happens between both countries. But it also sounds like Mexico's infrastructure is very third world. So maybe President Trump adding this to the tariff threats, or is there another way he can propose to get their act together?
Well, I agree with the tariff threats or some other, if we have to, come up with other compromises, either about the cartels or fentanyl or whatever else that we need to work together on, this could be part of that, a deal that says, okay, we'll work together, but you got to stop sending your sewage here. And we're willing to, compromise on certain things, but sewage has to be an issue that we no longer have it coming into our into San Diego County in particular. It's a big. So I'm hoping, either tariff, whatever leverage we have, I think, and since we've got the new president and the administration, in some cases, not making Mexico happy or not, but we have to be able to come to a compromise and have this solution reached sooner rather than later.
Exactly. It's been a tall order, but President Trump has knocked it down in the sense of the border crossings, working on the fentanyl situation, and now even this, really to really clean up the whole entire border there, specifically there at Imperial Beach, and then that Point Loma area where a lot of the Coast Guard are finding some illegal alien vessels coming around. So it's a whole region of the country that I'm sure Lee Zeldin, the president, as well, are keeping their eyes on, and so are you, sir. So thank you again for joining us. San Diego County Supervisor Jim Desmond, please join us again if you have any other things going on in San Diego County.
Hey, thanks. I appreciate the, you putting the information out. It definitely helps.
Definitely. Thank you, sir. Jim Desmond, a San Diego County supervisor fighting for the correct cause, for the common sense of our country, and a supporter of President Trump. So always good to see that.
It smells like a stinky situation, but he is quite the pro to be on the ground taking care of this. And this is what's also great about having someone like Jim really at the municipal level. He can call up the White House and say, we really need this, sir. And as he mentioned throughout there, this will be a federal government issue to handle, and there's creative ways to do that. So our friends, our neighbors to the south, really disappointing us once again. The government, a socialist government now in Mexico, has a lot of explaining to do, because they've allowed drugs to pour over the border, criminals, and now, really just a biohazard as a result. And it's a national security issue, to Jim's point, that our SEALs can't train in those waters now. Gallons of sewage. I mean, it's disgusting, and it's potentially very harmful for the residents of San Diego County.
Exactly. So we know President Trump doing a great job with the southern border, sealing that, bringing the military down there, working on stopping the fentanyl from crossing. We're already seeing illegal alien numbers drop. But then you have problems even like this. It's still to be taken care of. So all of these things getting worked on. But it was quite a mess that we walked into, and we're seeing a lot of great gains in our country right now. The winning keeps on happening in Washington, D.C. In about 15 minutes from now, we'll be joined by South Carolina Congressman Russell Fry, and we'll have some more interviews a little bit later in the broadcast. We'll also replay yesterday's cabinet meeting right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Again, as we expand into a news organization, full-blown, let's be real, because at the end of the day, it's all about having common sense reporting and everything from inside the Beltway there at Washington all the way to San Diego and elsewhere throughout the country and around the world. So looking forward to bringing all of the news as we get it. All of it brought to you by a number of great sponsors, including Angel Paste. So go to angelpaste.com. You'll see the promo code that you can use is RSBN. You'll get a percentage off a lot of products on there as well. So angelpaste.com out of Spring, Texas. Military veterans hired there. So a great company as well. And then we also want to talk to you about Lean.
Yes. Are you obsessed with the yo-yo dieting? I get it. It could be the long periods of fasting, and then you lose the weight, then it comes on back. Well, do it the healthy way. TakeLean.com. Code RSBN. You can get a nice price today and get started with 20% off. So it's a good way to do this. The science behind lean is impressive. It's studied for natural causes and ingredients targeting weight loss. So whether it's your blood sugar or controlling appetite and cravings, or simply just burning fat by converting it into energy, trim fat like Doge trims waste. It makes sense. TakeLean.com. Code RSBN for 20% off, especially now as spring rolls around. Get that beach bod going, a little mix of exercise and portion control, and also lean. This is a natural supplement, so no injections, any of that stuff that I won't mention on here, but it's not good for you. Just think about it. Don't put a chemical into your body. Take charge of your life with help from great supplements like TakeLean.com, and all natural as well.
Exactly, a dietary supplement. So you see all that information, TakeLean.com, an awesome sponsor, and use that RSBN promo code. Speaking of RSBN promo codes, this will get you up to 50% off on the next sponsor, mypillow.com/RSBN. You see the spring sheet sale. So many products, more than 2,000 right there at mypillow.com. And if you get a chance, even right now as we're talking, if you're watching on your phone, or maybe you're watching on your television set, maybe just go ahead on one of the phones there or the iPad and go to mypillow.com. There's so many you can scroll through. I guarantee you there's a few things that you'll say, you know what, let me use that RSBN code. 2,000
products for up to 50% off. And think about this, the Giza Dream Sheets from the Mediterranean Sea, manufactured and produced right here in America in the great state of Minnesota. Queen sets going for $29.98. I mean, rarely do you find such a great deal. And Mr. Mike Lindell, he knows how to persevere through countless things, but especially after being canceled for revealing the truth. He's a man of the Constitution, a great patriot, all about free speech and election integrity. Also, another EO that President Trump signed today to look into that and finally get to the bottom of some of the practices of these state and county level officials who have not really had a cozy relationship with the truth in recent years. So it'll be nice to see election integrity in full display and fully functional for the American constitutional republic that we know of, that we live here today. So that would be good to have that.
Exactly. All right, so it's about 7 minutes to the top of the hour, Tuesday, March 25th. If there's any breaking news, we'll have it for you right here at Right Side. As of right now, the schedule for the president is has been completed for the day so far. It looks like we saw him with the signing the executive orders and with the U.S. ambassadors earlier today. But we do want to go to yesterday's executive order signing. It's about a minute video that he posted on Truth Social about weaponization from government. So let's take a look at that executive order from just yesterday.
Sir, your administration has made it a priority both to end lawfare and the weaponization of government, and also to hold those who have engaged in lawfare accountable. One of the law firms that has been involved in that is called Perkins Coie. That's also a law firm that has engaged in unlawful DEI practices. This executive order will suspend security.
And I've watched it take place.
This executive order will suspend security clearances and access to certain federal resources for that law firm, and also launch a holistic review of unlawful DEI practices at some of the nation's largest law firms.
This is an absolute honor to sign. What they've done is it's just terrible. It's weaponization. You could say weaponization against a political opponent, and it should never be allowed to happen again. And you're looking at about 15 different firms?
That or more, sir, yes.
Okay.
The best signature in the business, isn't it?
It really is. And I think I mastered the sound of it just rubbing my hands together. So I was irritating Matthew off camera, and it's a great it's perfect.
Yeah,
so.
It's awesome. It's great. We were watching the president sign those executive orders earlier with the U.S. ambassadors sitting around that table. It's live TV. He has 25 reporters in there, 25 cameras, all of these powerful U.S. ambassadors. But he takes his time when he signs those executive orders. It takes about 5 seconds, But you know what? Every stroke of that pen is worth it, as we've seen so many EOs that are great for our country. And every day that he signs them, obviously we have that footage here at the network. We'll show that to you. And any other news that happens within the Beltway in Washington, we bring it to you, and outside the Beltway as well. Let's talk about National Medal of Honor Day. President Trump meeting with a number of recipients in the White House earlier today. He also posted 2 videos. We're going to play them for you back to back right now. We'll be right back here on RSBN Live.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hello, this is Mike Huckabee. President Trump said he wants to take back the White House and teach our kids to love our country. That's why my team created a Kids Guide to President Trump. It'll teach your kids all about President Trump's accomplishments and his vision for America. And right now, I want to give it to you for free as part of this free gift bundle.
Get your free gift bundle featuring the Kids Guide to President Trump, a free kids magazine, and the Great Again video lesson by visiting freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.
Welcome back to RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez.
I'm Robert McNeely. It is just 1 minute past 4 o'clock on the East Coast. A live shot there of Washington, D.C., the White House, a place where President Trump is working very diligently, as you saw today, meeting with future U.S. ambassadors and signing a series of executive orders, including a pardon for Devon Archer. If you remember him, he was a business partner of the Bidens, but he will now be free. And President Trump saying, congratulations, Devon. So a lot of truth coming out from these memorandums, these pardons, also commutations, and the EOs that President Trump has pushed forward over in entirety. It's really over 400 presidential actions having taken place over the course of 60 plus days.
Yeah, it's been a lot of winning in Washington. We're seeing it with President Trump. We're seeing it with other members of Congress, including South Carolina Representative Russell Fry, who joins us live right now on RSBN Live, 2 minutes after 4 o'clock here on the East Coast, Tuesday, March 25th. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on Right Side.
Great to be here. Thank you guys for having me.
Definitely. Your thoughts about President Trump and what the team has been doing and how your colleagues have been doing in D.C.
Oh, it's remarkable, right? I mean, you particularly look at the border as an example, 96% drop in 1 month. And I think the president was absolutely right in his joint assembly that it didn't take a new law, although there are laws that we could do to strengthen the border. It just took a new president who was committed to actually enforcing the law. And so we're seeing this, on the border. We're seeing this in the economy. The price of eggs are coming down. The price of gas is down. Interest rates are down. And so people are working again. I mean, and you're seeing a resurgence of manufacturing into the country with these economic development projects that are coming in. You're seeing manufacturing jobs being added, which under the Biden administration saw month after month after month of decreased manufacturing output and employment. And so in every which way, it seems to be going correctly. And that's why you're seeing the Democrat Party self-destruct and spiral. But the American people support the president. They support the agenda. And we're going to continue to do our part to support his agenda in the House of Representatives.
And Congressman, it's such a slim majority right now, 218 to that 213. Of course, 4 vacancies. Perhaps you'll have 2 more new Republican colleagues next week with the congressional elections in the 1st and 6th districts, respectively, in Florida. But you're one of 52 Republicans that voted in favor of that House Resolution number 30 back in 2023 that would bring back American troops from Somalia. So what are some of the goals in regards to the Republican conference's approach to foreign engagements? Is it a peace through strength mentality? Will you also bring back what we used to do with declaration of war? Because that has not happened really since World War II. Do you believe that the Congress should have more influence when, God forbid, the president has to authorize those authorities?
Well, certainly. I mean, the president has been, obviously a peace through strength type of president. He was in his first term and continues to do so now. And so for me, my criticism of Ukraine, Somalia is, what is the objective that we're trying to achieve, and why are we putting American service members in harm's way when we don't truly understand why we are there? And so for us, peace through strength, readiness is really important. I mean, obviously, Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth has hit the ground running on that with the president. But for us, is we don't have to be the world police. And it really is important that the world step up to fund their own security. We cannot continue to do that. The American taxpayers are fed up with it. They don't mind alliances and helpful things that mutually support democracies around the world. They just want to know that other people are pitching in for that mutual aid and defense. And right now, we're the ones that are footing the bill for it.
Congressman, for those that don't know all about you, can you talk to us about how you got to where you are today? You are obviously a congressman from South Carolina in Washington, D.C., working on draining the swamp. But what's your personal journey? How did you get to where you are today?
Well, I was in the state legislature for several years, and I woke up one day to a Republican congressman who voted to impeach Donald Trump. Turns out that's pretty unpopular in the most pro-Trump district in South Carolina. And so we challenged Congressman Rice in a primary. It was a 7-way primary, won without a runoff. We certainly had the president's endorsement and continue to have his support and his help. And we want to be a help within the Congress. But I took it as a mission that it was really important that we send America First patriots to the Congress to fight for the people. They expect nothing less. They're done with the Washington two-step. And so we've always wanted to be accessible to the people. We've always wanted to be responsive, and that American First champion that they expect in South Carolina.
And we've seen somewhat of a renaissance, an economic renaissance for South Carolina, especially really the Southeast United States, ever since COVID. People not only moving here, but the announcement yesterday, Hyundai will build plants not only in Louisiana, but Savannah, Georgia, not too far from your 7th district. Will tariffs end up helping the 7th district and the residents in South Carolina?
Well, I think what you're seeing right now, and it's really interesting, is that the threat of the tariff alone is causing companies to make educated decisions on where they want to go. You look at Hyundai. I think Hyundai was looking to go elsewhere. I think Nissan, as an example, landed in Indiana, but they were looking at Mexico. And so the president, I think that's helpful for the party that he's focused on working families. And his tariff, or even the threat of tariffs, is making businesses say, you know what, we need to come back to the United States. We need to onshore our stuff here. You're seeing that with chips. You're seeing that with critical minerals. Coming back here, it helps our supply chain, it helps our economy, and most of all, it helps the American worker.
Representative out of South Carolina, Russell Fry, thank you again for joining us on Right Side Broadcasting Network. Hope to have you on again in the near future.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Keep up the fight.
Thank you. You too. 4:08 Eastern, Tuesday, March 25th. Quite awesome to talk to someone that said, you know what, I see bad things going on. He's at the state level. He went all the way to the federal level.
And that's what it's about. You should not be afraid to primary an incumbent if you see them going a different direction. And yeah, it's great to look at that, Matthew, because 8 years ago, you had somewhat of a united Republican majority, but that was under Paul Ryan, someone who only agreed with President Trump on the tax cuts and on judges. But everything else, they really seem to have some serious disagreements. And that's okay to have in a Big Ten party like the Republican Party. But as we go back to that address to the nation, just 1 month ago now, almost, still in March, but the first week of March, we saw really a united Republican front like we have never seen it, and every vote counting more than it usually would because of that slim majority. And to the congressman's point, good for you, sir, for stepping up to serve your neighbors. And I think that's what MAGA and this populist movement has done. It's encouraged people to step up and say, you know what, that's wrong. I'm going to take that on and see if I can help people out in elected office. That, I mean, how many congressmen are there who, many of them have said, I never thought I'd do this.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly.
great to see.
I mean, people like Eli Crane out of Arizona, I mean, there's many of them. Also, we have that all-star cast of patriots that are the cabinet leaders that President Trump, of course, selected. Just yesterday, there was an entire cabinet meeting that we had right here on Right Side Broadcasting Network. So for the remainder of the broadcast, what we're going to do is we're going to replay that cabinet meeting. After that, at about 5 o'clock, Bruce Lavelle will join us live. And then at 5:30, Carla Sands, the former ambassador to Denmark under President Trump, will join us at 5:30. And then we'll wrap up our broadcast as long as there's no breaking news. But let's go to that cabinet meeting from just yesterday. For Robert McNeely, I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you in a bit.
And remember, there are no tariffs if you build here, and that's a big factor. So we have record numbers. Howard was just telling me the numbers that we're talking about are crazy, beyond anybody. A couple of contracts that we have now found. So they'll be. When he got there, they saw this with Chris and everybody, and they couldn't believe it. Doug, could you just relate what you told us a little while ago?
No,
We have, as you know, Indiana's Honda is coming in with a massive plant to Indiana, but there are many plants that are happening, and literally some are started already. General Motors is already redoing plants that were half abandoned, or they have plants that weren't being fully utilized. They're going to be, they and others are going to be making parts and other things in those plants so that it's one-stop shopping finally. It's ridiculous. You had to go to Mexico, you had to go to Canada. A car went all over the place. It was like, I don't know how that would have worked, but that's the way it sort of ended up. We had a deal, and we have a deal, which is fine, but people took advantage of the deal. They cheated. And when you cheat, the deals are unfortunate. But now what's happening is the numbers are beyond our wildest expectations. Now, having to do with cutting, we've done a lot of cutting, cutting from people, ideally the people that aren't doing the job. In many cases, people weren't attending jobs. In some cases, in many cases, people didn't exist. They had on the government rolls people that don't even exist. But of the ones that did exist, as you know, many didn't come to work. Many had no intention of coming to work. Many were paid and working someplace else. There were lots of bad scenarios, but they're being weeded out, and I think we're probably ahead of schedule on that. And to me, something that was just terrible is the contracts that we're finding, the fraudulent contracts that we're finding, where millions and millions of dollars and even billions of dollars in some cases were given out. And I think we'll start with that. I'd like to start with Doug Burgum, Secretary of the Interior. He told us about a couple of contracts that we have now found. When he got there, they saw this with Chris and everybody, and they couldn't believe it. Doug, could you just relate what you told us a little while ago?
No, happy to, Mr. President. There was a federal consulting group, which was a group inside of Interior, but it was managing contracts from many different agencies that flowed through here. One of those contracts was to do surveys of individuals, $830 million for surveys. And so part of the question was, hey, could we actually see the surveys? And then the surveys came back, and a survey was like 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper with 10 questions that anyone's child in junior high could have put together, or AI could have done for free. $830 million. So that's one that we've stopped, and that contract was going out after you were inaugurated, sir. So it was jumping.
It's a fraud.
Yeah,
it's a fraud. But we've had many fraudulent contracts that were caught by the work that Elon and his people are doing, and working with our people. It's been brought to light. The fraud, not just waste and abuse, the fraud has been incredible. You mentioned one, Madam Secretary.
Well, yes, sir. Well, let me just add to that, and thank you. We just had a wonderful cabinet meeting, all aligned on certainly the effort to realign the government. But even at the U.S. Department of Agriculture, we've canceled a $300,000 contract educating on food justice for queer and transgender farmers in San Francisco. A similar contract we canceled in New York, again, educating transgender and queer farmers on food justice and food equality. I'm not even sure what that means, but apparently the last administration wanted to put our taxpayer dollars towards that. We canceled a $600,000 contract out of Louisiana that was studying the menstrual cycles of transgender men, a $600,000 contract. We canceled another contract out of a university in the middle of the country that focused on getting more diversity, equity, and inclusion into our pest management industry. Again, these are nonsensical. It makes zero sense to use taxpayer dollars to fund these. I know these are just a few examples of the hundreds and hundreds that we have found.
Well, a clear case of fraud was with the Small Business Administration, where they were handing out loans, $330 million worth of loans to people under the age of 11. I think the youngest, Kelly, was a 9-month-old who got a $100,000 loan. That's a very precocious baby we're talking about here.
Kelly, what about that?
Well, we're tackling the fraud, waste, and abuse agency. We've seen, hundreds of billions of dollars of fraud go unprosecuted. So we're taking that off. We have a zero tolerance policy for fraud, and we continue to crack down on it and make sure people are held accountable.
That's amazing. And you have a lot of that. We've found far too much of it. It's a pure fraud. We like to use the words waste and abuse because they sort of sound good, but many of these things are pure fraud. Now there was a contract that you've heard about where Stacey Abrams got $2 billion just before we took over, and it was a rush to get her the money, and that was environmental, and nobody knows what she was doing. But $2 billion. If you got $2 million, that's a lot. If you got 200,000, that's a lot. But this was $2 billion was given. Lee, do you want to talk about that? And the other one that was even worse?
EPA has now canceled over $22 billion worth of contracts. $2 billion going to this NGO that Stacey Abrams was tied to. They received only $100 in 2023. And then the Biden administration gave them $2 billion. The director of the Greenhouse Gas Reduction Fund saw his former employer get $5 billion. So $20 billion went to just 8 NGOs, and they're all pass-throughs. And then they were giving it to other entities, many of them were pass-throughs. And what you have is all these extra middlemen, they're taking their cut. And the taxpayer ends up getting screwed. They're losing out on all this hard-earned money. They can't afford to have the federal government waste. The partnership with Doge and Elon Musk has been incredible at EPA. Their team is very talented. We wouldn't have been able to do it without them. And of course, this mandate from President Trump to make sure that we identify every last penny, whether we're saving $50,000, $5 million, or $22 billion. We will not rest until every last penny is saved. Thank you, Mr. President, for the opportunity to do this for the American public.
Thank you. Great job you're doing. So we have a lot of that. We're getting down to a point we think probably over the next 2 or 3 months we'll be pretty much satisfied with the people that are working hard and want to be members of the administration and our country, really. And they're doing a lot of good people. We have a lot of great people. We want to keep the good ones, and we want to get rid of the ones that don't exist, and we want to get rid of the ones that do exist but don't work. And we have quite a few of them. Would anybody else like to say something before we take some questions from the press, please? Doug Collins.
Yeah, Mr. President, I think one of the things that you've always told me is to take care of our veterans, and that's what we're doing at the VA. And one of the things, though, is you also have to know who your employees are. You have to know the very fact of who you are. We're 470,000 roughly when we started this, larger than the active duty Army, when you think about that in the perspective. But however, this is an interesting point. When I first got there and we started looking at this, how you take care of people, we didn't have an HR system that could actually give us a rundown on who actually was working where. That we've had to work with that, working with our VA employees who are those liaisons. We've been able to put together an organizational chart which we can start looking at that. But the interesting part about it is about taking care of veterans, and what you've told me to do is how do we get the people in the right places? And I think when we look at this, GAO has told us we were high risk for years. The previous administration put literally tens of billions of dollars and tens of thousands of employees over the last 4 years, and we saw our statistics basically stay the same or go down. Backlogs went up. You know, maybe the question is not money and employees anymore. Maybe it's the organization and how we effectively deliver for the American people. That's what we're going to do.
Well said.
And, you know, one thing I want to add to it, it is not necessarily a very popular thing to do. You know, you're talking about employment, you're talking about people and the lives of people. And yet, I think the American public understands we're trying to save our country and make our country great again. I mean, you could say it, but we're trying to save our country from this extraordinary thing that was happening. What they were doing to our country was just a horrible thing. And I have no idea how it plays out in the public. I guess you see poll numbers that are very good numbers, but I don't know what that means long term. But it's something that has to be done. If we don't do it, we're not going to have much of a country left, so we have to do it. So we're doing things that I think a lot of presidents wouldn't be inclined to do, but we're doing it to really, you know, I don't want to use cliche. I don't want to say we're doing it to make America great again, because I say that on the campaign trail, but there's really no other words that could express it better than that. We're doing it to help our country, and our country was riddled with fat, like no country probably anywhere in the world, and we're getting rid of the fat. And at the same time, we're going to be bringing in millions of very good, high-paying jobs, and we're going to be taking in a lot of money. Our country's going to be very strong. We've been ripped off by every country in the world, friend and foe. We were taken advantage of like nobody's ever seen. And you saw what happened today with Venezuela. We did something with Venezuela, which is long in the making, and it's very substantial. And we'll be announcing cars very shortly, and we already announced steel, as you know, and aluminum. We'll be announcing pharmaceuticals at some point in the not too distant, because we have to have pharmaceuticals. We don't make pharmaceuticals anymore in our country. And if we have problems like wars or anything else, we need steel, we need pharmaceuticals, we need aluminum, we need a lot of these things that we sort of don't make anymore, and yet we're equipped to do it all. So we'll be announcing some of these things in the very near future, not the long future, the very near future. And it'll bring in billions of dollars, billions and billions, and it'll bring in, maybe more importantly, jobs. It'll protect the jobs we have, and it's going to be really, really quite amazing. Chris, did you have something to say?
Yes, Mr. President. I want to say energy is the infrastructure that makes our country run and drives our national security. The Biden administration grew my department, the Department of Energy, by 20%, and expenditure much more than that, all in an effort to reduce the production of energy in the United States and to make energy more expensive. We are stewards of the American taxpayer dollars, right? That's the job of everyone around this table, led by you. We want to reverse that trajectory and care about every dollar an American taxpayer gives us, and are we using it for the benefit of Americans? Let me tell you one thing, huge growth in expenditures, huge growth in employee count. Puerto Rico, an American territory, had its electricity grid destroyed. They had billions of dollars in the Department of Energy to help Puerto Rico, yet they didn't spend that money, because that money would have meant more energy, more jobs, more prosperity in Puerto Rico. They wanted to have them as a poster child of wind and solar. This island should run on wind and solar. That just doesn't work. But they cared about politics more than the American people, and they didn't treat the dollars like they were their dollars. Yeah. This table, the team you have assembled, we're treating the American dollars like they're our dollars.
Thank you. We're doing a great job on energy, by the way. We have things happening with energy that will knock your socks off. A really amazing job. Howard, do you want to say a couple of words?
Well, what is so exciting is April 2nd is just around the corner, and that's American Liberation Day. That's the day when the rest of the world starts to treat America with respect. And your leadership, understanding how the rest of the world treats us and what balance and what fair trade finally is going to be, is going to take care of America. It's going to launch the External Revenue Service to start to build the power and prestige of America back. And I'm honored to be helping you on that course.
It's an interesting term, right? The external revenue service. We're going to take in a lot of money from the outside, and that's going to keep our taxes low, and I think getting a lot lower. It's going to be a lot of money, and the external will take care of the internal to a large extent. So I think it's going to be a beautiful transformation. Linda, you might say a couple of words. You've done so amazing. It's a 50% cut. And more importantly, we want to bring education into the states. We're at the bottom of the pack, but we're the most expensive per pupil. And we want to bring education back to the states where they can teach the students lovingly with their parents and with the boards and everything else. And they'll be every bit as good as these other countries. These states, these individual states will do a phenomenal job. You want to say something?
Yes, sir. And if we think about education, if we don't address the issues in education now and start getting our scores up, what are we going to find our next generation after that? Where are our engineers, our doctors, our lawyers, our scientists, our AI and technical experts going to come from? We will go farther and farther down, and with everything else we're doing within our country, building manufacturing, bringing all of that back, if we don't educate in the best way we can, we will be lost, and those generations will be lost. It is, I think, the cornerstone of our culture and what we need to focus on. And so by having education at the best place where it can be, which is at the states, the local levels, with governors, with best practices and tools, which I hope the Department of Education can help us apply for them, we'll do it.
And Linda, as you know, the SBA has taken over her student loans, which is a lot of loans. It's a big job. And Kelly, we appreciate that. You're going to do fantastically well. And Bobby is going to be taking over their various medical aspects and health aspects of the educational process. So, and he's going to do a fantastic job of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd just say that I'm very grateful to you and very grateful for the partnership with Doge, with Elon. We've identified extraordinary waste in my department and HHS. The expenditures, the budget of HHS during the Biden administration went up by 38%. The employees went up by 17%, and healthcare went down. We have 40 comms departments. We have 40 procurement departments. We have 40 IT departments, and we have 40 procurement, HR, none of them talking to each other. We are, with Elon's help, eliminating the redundancies. We are streamlining our department. We're going to go back to providing gold standard science. We're going to get the money to the scientists and to the patients rather than to the administrators and to the bureaucrats. And we're going to restore gold standard science, and we're going to make America healthy again.
Thank you very much. It's great. If you might, Madam Secretary, say a little bit about what's happening and how well we've done at the border.
Sir, this last week I was in Arizona, California, Alaska, and Florida, and CBP literally has almost 100% operational control of the border, which means that our country is secure and that we know who's coming into this country and that they love our country and they want to help keep it great into the future. We are, in the month of March, the last couple of weeks, increased our deportations by 50%, so we're now not even just getting the worst of the worst out. We're making sure that there's consequences for being here and committing crimes in our communities, and the numbers are continuing to escalate and to go up. Sir, this week I'm headed down to El Salvador. I'll be in the prison where we sent TDA members. I'll be meeting with the president and also Colombia and Mexico and talking about building these relationships so that we can continue to get people out of this country that don't belong here and take them home. And also, you had talked to me about sending the message worldwide about the fact that people shouldn't be coming to this country and they shouldn't be coming here illegally. So we are in several other countries around the world with a message right now that's saying, if you are thinking about coming to America illegally and coming here, don't do it. You are not welcome. We have a legal process to becoming a United States citizen, and there are consequences if you come here illegally, and America has changed because we're putting Americans first. So we've also, the Coast Guard has done phenomenal work. I don't know if you all have reported on it, but we have broken historic records in the amount of drug interdictions that they have brought in. We've repositioned the fleet to go after the fentanyl crisis and to go after the southern border and securing it, and they've done amazing work as far as that. We were down in Florida. They brought in $500 million worth of cocaine that they had done in 14 interdictions and had brought them in, going right directly after the cartels, and doing great work there. And we have a cutter that we have sped up the process, sir, the icebreaker. That'll be hitting the waters here this summer, and we've got 2 more that will be coming. But you know, Russia is using their cutters and icebreakers up in the Arctic to do surveillance on us, and we're going to reposition our fleet to continue to partner. I want to thank the Secretary of Defense and the Navy for all of their help and partnership too. We do operations together because their obvious Navy warships are in certain regions, but our cutters are faster and can work together in a partnership that's securing America. So, and we're going to eliminate FEMA. So we've got a lot to do, but it's all good, and we're working hard, and we're going to make sure that we're continuing to do exactly what you promised.
That's good. Great job. Yesterday, there was a plaza that you know well. There'd be hundreds of thousands of people standing at that plaza, pouring into our country, totally unchecked. Many people from jails and prisons and mental institutions and gang members, and horrible. And they just pour into our country. Yesterday, I was speaking to somebody, I was checking on the border, and they said there was literally nobody in this massive plaza. You know, we're talking a plaza that would hold hundreds of thousands of people. There was literally nobody there. There was one person sweeping it, but there were no people. It's been amazing. It's been an amazing transformation very quickly. And we're getting the bad ones out first, and we're taking them out. And there's some really bad ones, murderers of more than one people. At least 50% murdered more than one person. This is the people that we're letting in through their open border policy. It was terrible, but I want to just congratulate you and Tom Holman on the job you've done.
Boston this weekend, hundreds of dangerous criminals were removed, 4 killers taken out of the country just by what they did in Boston this last week.
Yeah. And these are killers that there's no reasoning. It's not like, oh, let's talk them out of it. These are stone cold killers. They don't care. They don't even think about it. They kill somebody. They go to sleep. They wake up. They don't even remember they killed them. These are bad people that should have never been allowed into our country. Pam is doing such a fantastic job. I thought maybe you could say a few words.
Thank you, President. As far as we are hearing a lot about fraud, waste, and abuse, a lot of waste and abuse, but there is a tremendous amount of fraud. And Elon, thank you for your partnership. Thank you for your team. You have uncovered so much fraud in our government, and we will prosecute you. We have an internal task force now working with every agency sitting here at this table. And if you've committed fraud, we're coming after you. Thank you, Elon, for that. On the violent crime level, thanks to President Trump's directive, we are seeking the death penalty again. So all of these horrible, violent criminals that you're hearing about around the country, they will face the death penalty federally within our country. And the drug dealers need to get out of here because we are coming after you. We're going to have 94 great U.S. attorneys around this country, and everyone will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law.
Thank you.
Thank you, President. Is that your directive?
I couldn't have said that better. That's very good. That's very good. She's doing a fantastic job. Thanks, Pam. Do you have any questions, please?
Mr. President?
Yeah, please.
Mr. President, what can states do now to implement your Department of Education executive order?
Well, I think what's going to happen is we are cleaning out a lot of things like the loans, student loans, which will be handled very professionally by people that do that. And then, as you know, RFK Jr. is going to do a fantastic job having to do with health and the other things, and frankly, better than the people at the Department of Education. You see the buildings all over D.C., and then the rest is the states are going to start coming in and taking all of the information on all of their students. And I think a lot of that information is going to be shipped to different states like Iowa, like Indiana, like so many. They're so anxious to get, they're calling us, and they're so anxious to get it. We'll be shipping the records of the children that they're taking care of, that they want to take care of, and the process will begin. And I think it won't be that long before the states will be really running the Department of Education. Our teachers are going to be taken very well care of. And I said, you know, personally, I don't care union, non-union, it doesn't matter. Teachers are so important to this country and to me. and we're going to take great care of our teachers. And I know it's very important to Linda.
Yes.
So I think you're going to see a tremendous change very quickly having to do with education, and the process has already begun, very strongly begun. I think we've done, in whatever it is, 8 weeks, people are amazed at how much we've done in terms of the safety of the country. In fact, I would like to ask maybe Marco to say a few words on what's happening with respect to, in particular, Russia, Ukraine, where we have some pretty good news. I think we want to get it stopped. We're losing 2,500 young people, and these are Russian and Ukrainian people largely. They're not American people, but on a human basis, we want to get it stopped, and we want to stop spending billions and billions of dollars to a country that we think it's time, and we're doing pretty well. Marco, do you want to say something?
Yeah, Mr. President, first of all, I think the American people should be proud that we have a president that's promoting peace and the end of conflict on this planet. This is a war that's gone on for 3 years, as you pointed out, that, as you rightly pointed out, would have never happened had you been president, but now it's here, and it needs to be brought to an end. There is no military solution to this war. It has to end through negotiation. And there's only one leader in the world that's capable of bringing two sides to a table, and that's our president, the President of the United States, President Trump. And that's what he's done. And so today, even as we speak, we have teams on the ground in Saudi Arabia, a meeting with the respective sides in the hopes of making progress towards this outcome that we all want to see. And I think that the country owes you a great debt of gratitude, and the world, really, because, I mean, you're the only leader in the planet that can bring the two sides together to bring an end to this conflict, and that's what you've done, and you've done it despite, impediments from other countries and others who maybe have different opinions about how this should go. But ultimately, I think that the only chance we have for peace is through the President's leadership, and you've shown that, and we hope it'll bear fruit, and today will hopefully be one step more in that direction.
Thank you, Marco. And on the Middle East, another hot spot that we didn't have a problem with. There was no problem in the Middle East when we left, and now there's a lot of problems in the Middle East, but we're working on that. But I think we've seen significant progress, and I think you'll have we're going to start, we were talking with the Vice President a little while ago, and you're going to see countries start to fill up the Abraham Accords. More and more countries want to join. That was a great success, tremendous success, and then Biden and his group did zero with it. That should have been filled up within a year of the election, would have been filled up. So countries are starting to want to get involved very much with the Abraham Accords again, so that'll be great. JD, do you want to say something?
Yeah, sure. Yes, sir. Just on that topic, if you think about what happened with the Abraham Accords, one of the great diplomatic breakthroughs under the first Trump administration, really in the last 30 or 40 years of American history in the Middle East, and the Biden administration did absolutely nothing with it. Built on it, not at all, added 0 additional countries. Purely out of political spite, the Biden administration, I think, hurt the United States and really hurt the project of world peace. That has changed. Luckily, about 2 months ago, we got a new president, and that president has given us the task of building out the Abraham Accords, adding new countries to it. And really what you see is a lot of these countries that have historical ethnic or religious hatreds want to build. They want to build new artificial intelligence. They want to build new real estate projects. They want their citizens to become rich and prosperous and peaceful, and they're setting to the side some of those old hatreds under the leadership of President Trump. So it's early, but we made a lot of progress, and we'll keep on making progress, sir.
Thank you, JD. One of the things that's very important, I think, to mention, I saw a show yesterday, and they had a Democrat congressman on. It was on Fox. And he said, well, President Trump said prices would be coming down, and instead he's focused on other things. Well, we are focused on a lot of other things, like peace, like all of these companies that are moving in and jobs. But what he didn't say is that prices have come down very substantially. And if you look at when I came in after 1 week, they were screaming at me about eggs. Eggs had nothing to do with me, but they were through the roof, and you couldn't get them. And now they're down about 35, 40%, maybe even more than that. I'm going to let Brooke, if you would just discuss that. And groceries generally. Prices are coming down, and energy prices are coming down. And I hope the Fed lowers interest rates, and then you're going to see interest rates coming down, and I'll have you speak about that in a second, Scott. Brooke, go ahead.
Well, sir, thank you. I think the first thing that's really remarkable to note is that the prices of eggs under the 4 years of Joe Biden increased 237%. 237% in those 4 years, and yet it wasn't covered in the press at all. No one talked about the price of eggs in the summer of last year, for example, from the media. So, of course, the president wins and he is inaugurated, and the next day, everyone is yelping about why the price of eggs are so high. So it was certainly one of many, many issues we took on under the 4 years of Joe Biden. We had the cost of input go up 30% for all of our agriculture products. At the same time, the trade deficit increased $49 billion. So it was zero under the first Trump administration. And then under Joe Biden, we sold $49 billion less of our ag products around the world. Then you combine that with the avian bird flu. And I know I've talked to a lot of you in the press on this over the last 3 or 4 weeks. But listen, here's the deal. The president, under his vision and support, we released about a month ago a very significant plan on how to bring the price of eggs down. It included 5 prongs. I won't go into it now because I don't want to bore everyone. But since that day, since we released that plan regarding biosecurity, repopulation, importing eggs, research, and then deregulating, taking those onerous rules off of our farmers, our egg-laying farmers, since that time, the price of eggs, the wholesale price of eggs, has come down 53%. So we're going to keep working on it. Listen, it's not something you solve overnight. Avian bird flu and some of the other animal diseases, we're working across the government, several partners out in the cabinet on that, especially my friend Secretary Kennedy over at HHS. But we have a long-term solution, but at least for now, in the short term, thanks to President Trump and so many that have worked so hard, the price of eggs are coming down, as well as the price of groceries. So thank you, sir, for the opportunity to lead on that.
And the number is 53%, and they're readily available. So I think it's a fantastic job. And overall, groceries are down, too.
That's right. They're coming down.
So the consumer's finally seeing some good news instead of year after year of prices going up because of grossly incompetent leadership. Scott, do you want to talk about interest rates, where you see it all going?
Yes, sir. So we are, under your direction, we're reprivatizing the economy. We're bringing down government spending. We're bringing down excess employment in the government sector. On the other side, we're going to re-leverage the banking system. We're going to have all the new manufacturing jobs, so everyone who's laid off from the government will have an opportunity to go into the private sector, and that is going to lead to disinflation. Inflation is under control. We're going to get the affordability crisis fixed. So lower energy, deregulation, more private sector jobs that will naturally get interest rates down. Interest rates down. Mortgage rates are down almost every week since January 20th. The energy costs are down about 15%. Crude oil's down about 15%. And as we keep that going, interest rates are going to keep declining. It'll be good for mortgages. It'll be good for credit card debt. It'll be great for auto loans.
That's great. And you're doing a really, really good job. I'd like to see the Fed lower interest rates. That's just my opinion. Because things are coming down. We have inflation under control. Tremendous amounts of money will be soon coming in from tariffs, which is about time that we were able to partake. We've been ripped off by every country on that basis, and it's about time. But that will be, I think, treated very fairly. Will be very fair. But the money that we're talking about is rather astronomical, and it should be, because we put years and years. I was able, in the first term, we had a great first term with the highest stock price increase ever, all the different things that we had. But one of the things, we took in a lot of money in tariffs, and I had just started that process, and we had to slow it down because of the COVID. We didn't go forward. We did a very good job with COVID, but that was something that happened to the whole world. It was a shame. What a shame. All those people dead, and all of the problems that it caused for countries far worse. I mean, some countries still haven't recovered. Economically, they haven't recovered. But we took in hundreds of billions of dollars in tariffs just starting the process. But this is a program that's going to be, I think, unbelievable for our country. And I think it's treating other countries very fairly, very, very fairly. I'd like to ask, if I might, Sean Duffy to say a few words about the air traffic control situation. You know, there were some mishaps, one in particular, the helicopter crashing into the plane. We have a system that's 40 years old. They spent tens of billions of dollars trying to patch it up, and make it work, but it doesn't work. And my pilot says they use different systems. They don't want to use our system. It's so obsolete. And it's an obsolete, horrible thing that happened with respect to it. And we were going to, I said, day one, if this happens, if we are successful, we're going to have to get a brand new, modern, top-of-the-line air traffic system. And I think I can say that I've been working a little bit with Sean on it, but Sean's been working hard on it, and with his new person at FDA, who's going to be terrific, by the way. And maybe you want to talk to them about that, because we need safety in the air, total safety in the air, and this will give that to you.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. We had a conversation on Friday. Again, our air traffic control system, as we talked about maybe privately or I don't know publicly with all of you, but we have decades of ideas and billions of dollars, and no progress is ever made on any of these initiatives. Air traffic control is the same thing. And so we're having a conversation about building a state-of-the-art, brand new, best technology, envy of the world, air traffic control system. And what's interesting from the DOGE team is they'll look and say, well, what is the problem? Why hasn't this been built? This is about safety. This is about people's lives. All of you fly, your family flies. Why hasn't it been done? And the problem is, in government, it takes way too long. So technology changes and money changes and administrations change. We have to do this fast, which is why we need the partnership from the Congress to give us the money up front. The best ideas and the best technology available in the world, we're going to build in the system. I think, Mr. President, we can do it in 3 years. I think Trump Tower was built in 3 or 3.5 years. I think we could match the Trump Tower time frame.
2 years.
Okay.
2 years.
Maybe not back here.
Actually, 18 months to be exact.
About 3 years. And again, we have to choreograph, because again, our towers are operational, keeping planes in the air. So we've got to choreograph this, but we can do it in short order. If I could just make one other point, Mr. President. We're $36 trillion in debt. You've never had a DOGE. We've never come in and looked at our government the way, Mr. President, you've looked at this government and said, there's too many people, there's contracts, fraud, waste, and abuse. And so we've had a few bumps in the road as we've gone through this process, but if you look around this room, everybody has seen how the process has evolved, and everyone appreciates some of the insight and technical support that we've gotten to make this government more efficient, to make it more responsive to the American people. And so, again, when you have a new system like this, you'll get some bumps. But things are rolling out. The last 3 weeks have been much, much better as our teams have integrated and we're working to deliver for the American people. And I would say some of the press had made comments last time about what happened in the last meeting. We had a great conversation in the last meeting. Elon and I had a great call after the meeting, and so sometimes the reporting can be a little bit off. I love the analysis that you guys do when you're not in the room. But I would just note that we're working well together, Mr. President, and the whole team here is working well together.
Well, actually, we decided to see you after the cabinet meeting instead of before, and I think that's nice. But if you think about it, I guess never in history has anybody invited you to a cabinet meeting. We're very open and transparent, and we had a very good meeting today. So, I mean, you're standing here, you're seeing what the result of the meeting is. I think we're doing an amazing job for essentially 8 weeks on the job. I think there's never been anything like it. Did you have a question, please?
Two, actually, if you don't mind. And thank you for having us in here. We appreciate it. One, actually, to follow up on the Attorney General's comments, and then one for you. You said that you're now preparing to prosecute examples of fraud across federal agencies that have been referred to you. Is that what you said?
We are working with a team. We have a team of attorneys in place working with Elon's incredible team, helping us, taking referrals from the cabinet members. You know, these are your tax dollars. And a lot of it is just abuse, a lot of it's waste. But if it's fraud, we are investigating it, and we are looking at multiple cases of fraud throughout the federal government.
One for you, Mr. President. Greenland is confused about the Second Lady and the National Security Advisor visiting this week. They're concerned that this is further provocation of whatever it is you ultimately want for Greenland. Could you further explain why they're going? What is the ultimate end goal when it comes to Greenland?
Well, not provocation. This is friendliness, not provocation. We're dealing with a lot of people from Greenland that would like to see something happen with respect to their being properly protected and properly taken care of. They're calling us, we're not calling them. And we were invited over there, and I thought it would be I have great respect for the wife of our of our great vice president. I think she's she's a brilliant woman. She's a very nice woman, and she loves the concept of Greenland. And so she's going there, and I think Marco's going there, and some others are going there. But we've been invited, and they really like the idea because they have been somewhat abandoned, as you know. They haven't been taken good care of. And I think Greenland's going to be something that maybe is in our future. I think it's important. It's important from the standpoint of international security. And if you look at the ships outside of Greenland, you have Russia, you have China, you have lots of different people and lots of different places, and it cannot go on the way it is. It's not going to go on the way it is. I'll make a statement. It's not going to happen. So they're going there, and that's purely friendship.
Who's doing the inviting? You said people.
A lot of people, yeah. People from Greenland are asking us to go there. We have many, many requests from many, many people, some officials too.
Mr. President,
yes,
I ask
please.
you about economic forecasts. I saw one economic forecast coming out from the OECD this past week. They are forecasting stagflation for the United States, a downtick in terms of GDP growth. Do you agree with that forecast? What do you see over the course of 2025 for our country?
Well, we inherited a very, very bad and perilous situation from a group of people. Again, we just got here from a group, and this takes a long time to develop, from a group of people that truly didn't know what they were doing. And you see that with not only costs, you see that with all of these fake contracts that have been given out. So we inherited a bad situation, but I think we're going to have an economy that booms. I think when it all kicks in, it's not going to take very long, because some of these people that announce that they're going to spend billions of dollars, I mean, literally, Apple is spending $500 billion. They've never made anything close to that to do that. They're building plants here instead of China, instead of other places. When it all happens, and it's going to happen very soon, these are people that are already, in many cases, they're already starting. They just announced. In some cases, they announced, but they actually started before the announcement, as you know, because some are already building. This is going to kick in. I think it's going to be amazing. So they're looking at, based on numbers that I was looking at 6 months ago, 7 months ago, I was very concerned about the economy. We're going to have something that's like nobody's ever seen before. We have numbers, and we have job generation that I don't think we've ever seen before. See how it works out, but I think the economy is going to go through the roof.
Mr. President,
Yeah,
also,
please.
Sir, about Ukraine, in an interview with Time Magazine published this morning, President Zelensky said he believes that some members of your team have been influenced by Russian information. Those were his words. What do you have to say to that?
Well, probably they have been influenced to get this thing settled, because Ukraine wants to see it settled. I think they have to have it settled, and Russia wants to see it settled. And I think if I weren't president, this would never happen. Marco's doing a great job, and Steve Witkoff has been incredible. Michael Waltz. We have a great group of people working on it, and that takes a good part of their day, settling something that really, it affects us monetarily because we've given so much money, and we're getting that done. In fact, Scott has told me that the agreement on rare earths is just about completed. They'll sign it shortly. So it's, as you know, Europe is in for a very small fraction of what we're in for. It affects them much more than it affects us. Again, they are in as a loan, which nobody knew until I came along. Europe is giving the money to Ukraine as a loan. We were just pouring money into Ukraine. It was a very unfair situation. So we made a deal on rare earths. But most importantly, we want to stop the killing that's going on. 2,500 on average, mostly soldiers, a week are being killed. And they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, and if we can stop it, that's a very important thing to me on a human basis. Okay, anybody else?
Are you signing the rare earths deal today? Is that what you mean?
No, we'll be signing it soon.
So on Ukraine,
It'll be signed very soon.
China
can I
and
ask another question on Ukraine? You,
Yeah.
you recently mentioned the fate of all the Ukrainian children abducted and transported to Russia. So are you demanding that Russia return these kids to their families in Ukraine?
Well, it's one of the things that we're talking about. I know that no decision's been made. We're talking about territory right now. We're talking about lines of demarcation. We're talking about power plant ownership. Some people are saying the United States should own the power plant and then work it that way because we have the expertise to fix it up, et cetera, et cetera. It's okay. That would something like that would be fine with me. But they are talking about ownership of the big nuclear power plant in particular. But all of these things will come up, and they have come up, and that has been discussed. Yes. Okay. I want to thank everybody very much. This was a great meeting. These are phenomenal people. We're lucky to have them. I have to tell you, I want to thank you all. And Elon, I want to thank you. I know you've been through a lot with this horrible situation that happens.
Oh, burning the cause,
It's no, it's a very unfair. What he is a patriot. Here's a man that I can tell you, he's a friend of mine. He's become a friend of mine. He supported me in the election. That's when I got to know him. Really, I knew him a little bit from the first term, but not much. But he's a patriot more than anything else. He's never think of it. He has never asked me for a thing. He could have. I always say, I wonder if he's ever going to ask me for something. And that's always subject to change. And if it does change, I'll let you know about it. But Elon has never asked me for a thing. I mean, I got rid of the electric car mandate. I have no idea how that affects him, but possibly not good. I don't know. But he's never asked me for a thing. And I think that's an amazing tribute. I did get activated last week when I saw what they were doing. I said, he makes an incredible product, and we're going to go out and tell people you can't do that stuff and support him. They got to support him, because if he wasn't doing this, he wouldn't have any of these difficulties. And I think it's getting less and less. Pam has done a great job with regard to all of the, I mean, I know the kind of investigations that are going on. If she finds them, which she will, she already found 4 of them.
She will.
But I think they're going to suffer very grave consequences, because they're really terrorists when you think about it. They're terrorists at a high level. And I think the people that are financing them, they could very well be people I know, people that you write about. But those people are in big trouble, so they better cut it out. But Elon's a patriot. We want to thank you very much for the job you're doing. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody.
Sir, how many more press do you expect to come? Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd just like to also say thanks to all the Doge team who are getting death threats on a daily basis. Just trying to do the right thing for the American taxpayer, for the American people. Just a thank you to the Doge team.
All right, back here live at RSBN. Of course, that was within the 24/7 news cycle, that cabinet meeting just yesterday in the White House. Of course, a lot of coverage today as well. We saw the president with the United States ambassadors earlier today, and also signing some executive orders from the White House. And then now let's go to Honolulu, Hawaii, where the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, is delivering a speech right now. Let's go there.
The world has ever seen. I said to him, and I say to you now, I believe my kids and my grandkids will thank him for having the willingness to make that choice and invest in a platform of that strategic significance, which is needed specifically in this part of the world to continue to maintain deterrence. I hope, and I believe, that message was sent. Supported by and in partnership with capable, like-minded allies and partners, I believe the 21st century, this century we live in right now, can be and should be and will be an American-led, freedom-loving century. That is truly what is at stake. So it's great to meet so many of you here in person, and even many more watching virtually online. I want to thank you for what you do. I want to thank you for your time, and I wish Godspeed always to our warriors. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay. Got a great story. start. A beautiful Hawaii morning. I'm glad to be able to speak with the APCSS Alumni Network here in Waikiki and across the Indo-Pacific, and as was mentioned, around the world. It was also very intentional that this was our first stop to the region as part of this very important messaging. But first of all, thank you so much, Susie, for your leadership. 30 years is quite an accomplishment, and for hosting us on this beautiful morning. And again, thank you to Admiral Paparo for his reputation. His leadership precedes him. He's well known in Washington for all the right reasons, and we have our fighting admiral here in the Indo-Pacific. Appreciate your leadership. I'm honored to speak this morning in the Stackpole Auditorium. It was really neat to do research on this before coming here. Named after Lieutenant General, as you all know, Hank Stackpole. He was a remarkable human being. He was a Marine, a Vietnam combat veteran, the first commander of U.S. Marine Forces Pacific, the first president of APCSS, a fellow Princeton grad, and an American hero. During one of his several tours in Vietnam, General Stackpole, then a captain and a company commander, was struck by an enemy .50 caliber bullet. While being evacuated, his medevac helicopter was shot down. Imagine, I've been wounded, I'm heading out, everything's going to be okay. Now it's not. He was the only survivor among 9 men on board. He crawled out of the wreckage 70 feet before the helicopter exploded. A second helicopter took him to a field hospital where the chaplain read him his last rites. And then he made a miraculous recovery. He earned the Silver Star, fittingly, for his bravery that day. General Stackpole retired in 1994 after nearly 40 years on active duty, but then he continued serving his country, as so many do. In 1998, he became the first president of this organization, and he helped build this institution into the intellectual powerhouse that it is today. Even just seeing the photos in the hallway on the way in that you showed, the reach of what this institution does is critically important. So I would like to give a special thanks to his wife, Mrs. Vivian Stackpole, who is here with us this morning. Ma'am? Thank you to you and your husband for your decades of serving together, particularly here in the Indo-Pacific. As every military family knows, no warrior serves alone. There's always a family alongside who oftentimes, sometimes have an even more difficult job because you don't really know what your loved one is doing, and yet you support them all the way, as you did. And thank you to the audience around the world for the opportunity to speak with you about how the Department of Defense views this region. This is my first time addressing military and civilian leaders in the Indo-Pacific as the Secretary of Defense. Many of you graduated from our premier forum for studying the Indo-Pacific and for building ties among national security leaders who are engaged in this region. Our relationships and our teamwork form the foundation of achieving peace through strength. President Donald Trump has made it clear that we will achieve peace through strength through an America First approach. But America First does not mean America only or America alone, ignoring allies and partners. It means that our military-to-military relationships must make sense for the United States and for our friends. Where there are imbalances, we will fix them, we will find them, and we're going to fix those imbalances. We will right-size the obligations and responsibilities needed for modern deterrence and defense, which is a large part of the conversation the Admiral and my team had yesterday. In some cases, it will require even greater attention to the partnerships that matter the most. And our alliances and partnerships in the Indo-Pacific matter a great deal to the United States. They matter because the Indo-Pacific is the region of consequence. I've tried to demonstrate that with calls to Australia, Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, India, Thailand, Singapore, and many others in my first days as Secretary of Defense. I specifically, and our team directed, those are the folks we want to call first to send the signals of where our focus will be, to establish peace through strength. And with this first trip to the Indo-Pacific, and there will be many more, I'm making stops in the Philippines and Japan after a stopover in Guam as well. But to reiterate, I'm here today because the President has given me, and the American people gave him the mandate to achieve peace through strength. And we're going to do that in three ways, as the Admiral mentioned. Restoring the warrior ethos, rebuilding our military, and reestablishing deterrence. By restoring the warrior ethos, U.S. forces assigned to the Indo-Pacific will be the best trained and best equipped in the world. We've seen great signals in the Pentagon as well, with recruiting numbers at historic levels across the forces, as America's young men and women are responding to the leadership of President Trump and want to serve in record numbers in uniform. And we know our opponents are taking notice. Number two, we're going to rebuild our military by optimizing the Department of Defense and the U.S. Defense Industrial Base to rapidly and responsibly deliver the right tools to our warfighters in real time. And we will also deliver those tools rapidly and responsibly to our allies and to our partners. There are many opportunities for our defense industries to collaborate. And I'm going to press hard to expand capacity and accelerate deliveries. I can tell you every Minister of Defense and others that I speak to brings up foreign military sales and our ability to deliver those capabilities front and center in those conversations. I was recently with the Commander-in-Chief who reiterated that as a priority of his from the White House. FMF, FMS, the opportunity to get systems in the hands of our allies and partners is a priority of this administration that we're focusing on at this moment. I know this center has also been focused on supply chain security for our weapon systems. When you look at the charts and you understand where too many things are sourced from, you understand the complications that come with that reality. You've also been studying how we can co-produce and co-sustain our platforms and munitions with partners who choose to work with us. So, Susie, please keep up the great work. We need it. It is more important than ever. And finally, as we reestablish deterrence, our charge is simple. We will work with our allies and our partners to deter the Communist Chinese and their aggression in the Indo-Pacific. Full stop. By standing shoulder to shoulder with you, our allies and partners, we will put our enemies, our adversaries, those who stand against us on notice. Each ally, each partner, each friend contributes their own unique capabilities to regional deterrence. A renewed focus on deterrence creates advantages for ourselves, our partners, and our allies. And it also does this while creating dilemmas, which is a lot of what we talk about, dilemmas for our adversaries. Our mission is to deter war. But if necessary, we will, together, defeat and destroy our enemies. None of this is new. This is the business that we are in. President Trump's vision for a free and open Indo-Pacific is as true today as it was when he first laid it out in Vietnam in 2017. It's a vision in which all countries prosper side by side as sovereign, independent states. It's a vision in which the United States remains engaged with and invested in and focused on, truly, the Indo-Pacific. It's a vision in which our allies and partners are at the forefront of deterring aggression. To paraphrase the President, I say to all of you who are here with me today and listening from around the region, we have been friends, partners, and allies for a long time. And we will remain friends, partners, and allies for a long time to come. But we need each and every one of our friends and partners and our allies to do their part as well, to be force multipliers alongside the United States of America. That has to be a two-way street. So let us today, through this institution, through our work at INDOPACOM, recommit ourselves to that. Recommit ourselves to reestablishing deterrence in the Indo-Pacific and to achieving peace through strength by working together, building credible warfighting capabilities, and by doing our part for the peace that we all long for. In closing, no one should question the resolve of the United States of America to defend our interests in the Indo-Pacific and beyond. We will do this through the deterrent power of the strongest, most effective, most lethal fighting force in the world. And that is something this administration is committed to in every capacity. Just last week, I was in the Oval Office, standing next to President Trump when he announced the new sixth-generation fighter, the F-47. The most capable, most lethal, longest range, most stealth fighter jet the world has ever seen. I said to him, and I say to you now, I believe my kids and my grandkids will thank him for having the willingness to make that choice and invest in a platform of that strategic significance, which is needed specifically in this part of the world to continue to maintain deterrence. I hope, and I believe, that message was sent. Supported by and in partnership with capable, like-minded allies and partners, I believe the 21st century, this century we live in right now, can be and should be and will be an American-led, freedom-loving century. That is truly what is at stake. So it's great to meet so many of you here in person and even many more watching virtually online. I want to thank you for what you do. I want to thank you for your time, and I wish Godspeed always to our warriors. Thank you very much.
Okay. The Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, in Hawaii as he just started his Indo-Pacific trip just yesterday, as you saw him arriving in Hawaii. Honolulu, to be exact. So speaking there in Honolulu to a number of people, great to see the Secretary of Defense there as he is touring the Indo-Pacific. We do have a few more interviews live here for you, including Bruce Lavelle. Of course, you've seen Bruce a lot on Right Side Broadcasting Network and a lot of networks over the years, as he is a staunch conservative, a great businessman in Atlanta, and of course, a dear friend of President Donald Trump. Sir, thank you so much for joining us right now on Right Side.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me.
Definitely. So talk to us about what we're seeing now. I mean, we're 2 months into President Trump's second administration. It feels like 2 years, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's moving very fast. It's at a rapid pace. But listen, it's just like everything. Remember the first term, a lot of learning experiences. One of the reasons a lot of folks were just regular business guys like the president that had to come in there, didn't have any really strong relationships with Washington. That's not all that bad. But learning where all the curves and the nooks and crannies are, if you could say that, was the first term. So obviously, the second term is taking off and running fast. The interesting thing about this term is who we are attracting to come serve. You know, the first time, you and I talked about this, Matt, is the far left and the hatred they had and how they would try to intimidate and make it so uncomfortable to make it where no one wanted to come serve because of the persecution, the political as well as personal persecution. So a lot of that has been obviously thrown out. You saw what happened with, of course, Elon and Howard Lutnick and many others that said, you know what, enough's enough. And many of these men and women walked away from very successful businesses. You saw Don Bongino coming in as assistant to the FBI, walking away from millions of dollars of a podcast show. The list goes on. Pete Hegseth, many others. And that's why I say when you come to serve, that's what it is. You're coming to serve, not a job. So this is essentially what President Trump's trying to attract, obviously with Linda McMahon and many others And that's how this whole republic was designed, Matt. So, what we're seeing is an out-of-the-box answer your question with Secretary Hegseth is the fact that he's not part of the former general elite class where they come in and there is a club. There are relationships they try to acquire on what type of equipment and military equipment you're going to purchase. Not saying all, but a lot. Let's put it that way. And so, all this is kind of, there's no relations in that. So that's where a lot of the pushback comes, and because the establishment, as well as we business as usual, we've done it this way. This is what the American people are witnessing for their very eyes right now.
Exactly. Is there something that you can break down for us when it comes to the economy? I know that with small businesses, you being one of the people that are an owner in small businesses, but has a lot of knowledge in the economy. When you look at the first administration under President Trump, the gas prices were really low, and a lot of things were great for our economy. Obviously, we have to dig out of what just happened with Biden, with inflation and all that junk.
Yeah.
So how long does it take to see the rapid decrease? I mean, let me take that back. Just the decrease in general in the economy. We're already seeing some of that, to President Trump's point earlier, but the gas prices were cheaper in his first administration, but he's only been in office for 2 months. So can you break it down for us and the people watching?
Yeah, well, one of the reasons is because of, quote, the successful, as they call it, the Trump tax cuts. And just for your audience, a lot of the small business and business people out there watching understand that, when you have employees, I have employees, it's the FICA. And obviously, the first term, we want the FICA smaller. And when the smaller the FICA, meaning the payroll taxes that are less, the more discretionary income to the employee and more money for the employer to incentivize their employee, as well as that employee putting money in the economy, going to the movies, going to buy more, using more discretionary spending. That moves the economy. Because remember now, real quick, there's 30 plus million small businesses, answer your question, Matt, on small business. We formulate 60+% of the GDP. So what's that entail? That means that we're a force to be reckoned with. We're the one that literally shapes and pretty much controls the American economy. We're not lobbying heavy like some of the bigger conglomerates can hire, to debate their businesses, but we're smaller, but we're very, very prominent on what determines the trajectory of the economy. So when that's being taken care of, which is the Trump tax cuts, and here's the key thing too about the American consumer, is the consumer confidence brings more economic development. When people see as they call it biblically, for all my believers out here, the Bible speaks of wars and rumors of wars. When you keep constantly hearing that and the doom and gloom, it makes people kind of draw back and like, I don't know. So then the money stops moving and circulating. And so and of course, like, well, no, we don't need to go out and eat. We're just going to fire up the grill again. So, we want you to fire the grill, but we want you to go out and eat too and move the economy. So, you put all that in a nutshell with the first term, but something real quick I want to bring to this point. Imagine if they just left President Trump alone and just let him do what he needs to do outside of debating and defending the fake Russian hoax collusion, also the fake impeachments on the phone calls, all the distractions and having to lawyer up and go get counsel and keep all this stuff stirred up, which was a major deterrent of doing the people's business, which is the president, what he was trying to do. So, you take that and look at the success we had in the first term. So imagine take that out. What would you have? So I think that's something that we're looking at in this term that we're, as we call it, the hashtag unfinished business. So, I think with respect to that, like I said, you see Elon Musk with Doge, you see Howard Lutnick, a brilliant man. And just real quick about Howard Lutnick for the audience. Remember, Howard Lutnick got a call from the wife to go pick up one of his children. Had he not done that, he would have been in the first 3 floors of the World Trade Center, which he lost instantly 600 employees. Imagine that. And this is who we have as Secretary of Commerce. Really, really nice man. Do away with his business, and then want to, sorry. Mic check, still there?
Yeah, gotcha.
Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. I don't know what went away, but I apologize. but I don't know where we're at. But you know, I was talking about Howard Lutnick, you know, getting the phone call, being diverted towards pick up his child, and all of a sudden he looks on the news and all 3 floors are wiped out of the World Trade Center. That was Howard Lutnick, our Secretary of Commerce. That's what happened to his employees. And to go back and just get himself back together and build back that company to a multi-billion-dollar business, walk away, get a phone call from President Trump, hey, can you come run commerce for me? Can you come help me build America? As well as Scott Bassett, the guy over at Treasury, and many others. Linda McMahon, again, you know, where she did a great job at SBA, who's over at Department of Education. You see what she's worked. You know, so this in itself brought a collage of great men and women from, quote, great business backgrounds, which is what this whole republic was designed for. So this is the great thing about it, is President Trump was able to attract these people to come serve.
Exactly. Let's go back several years. Let's go back to the days of The Apprentice with President Trump. The first season, my family and I are finally watching like all the episodes on Amazon. And I know you've known the president for a long time. So can you talk to us about any interesting stories from then, and specifically anything with The Apprentice, anything like that?
Well, you know, I like this particular story too. Apprentice is further on. I'm gonna go way further back. I'm gonna go to like 1990. You know, because I met him in '91. Was as everyone knows this or remember this. Well, I'm gonna go to this. I'm gonna jump to this. Is when he was a guest appearance on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And if you remember, he was on there, of course, married to Marla at the time. And then he walks in, and then Jeffrey, the butler, says, "Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump." And he walks in, and you know, everybody's clapping, and then of course the brother of Will Smith was in there. "Oh, it's Donald Trump." Blah, blah, blah. So anyway, he was trying to buy the house. The deal didn't go bad. And then, you know, of course, President Trump, Donald Trump at the time, he says, "You know, everybody's always blaming me for everything." And this is 1990, Matt. So imagine this is what, 35 years later, and they're still blaming him. You know, it's almost like it's kind of like prophetic, because this actually comes in. This all came into fruition, that they actually always blaming him for things he had nothing to do. So I thought that was kind of interesting, of him making that famous quote on guest star, The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, which is a predominantly black staff, okay, who's supposed to be now is a racist. So we'll get to that. But that's one of the things that sit back with me more than anything when he made that guest appearance.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. I mean, from the real estate mogul to the entertainment icon with The Apprentice and all that success there, and then being prepared all the way along, though, through all of his experiences to become the 45th president at the time. Of course, he won the 46th presidency. We know what happened there. But now, as the 47th president, saving our country. So just finally here, Bruce, just that 30,000-foot view moving forward. We still have to be vigilant, though, throughout all of this. We can't just relax and say, oh, he's got it all covered. We're all in this together, aren't we?
Yeah. Well, you know, my prayers has always been, you know, unfortunately, we look at President Xi and Putin and all these other folks, these dictatorships, they stay in there 30, 40 years sometimes. And, you know, we have terms, we have 2 terms, 8, 4 and 4, that's about the most you can get. But my prayer has always been, is attracting, and everyone, again, and watching in your audience, is attracting the America First statesperson that wants to come in, city council, state house, state senate, secretary of state, governor, state, you know, whatever it is that's elected office, and take your professional business acumen and your ethics, here's that key word, and go serve. And that's how it was designed. So my prayer is someone that takes the torch from President Trump in 2028 and moves on to 2032, and so on and so on. And that goes for the district attorney in our communities, our school board members, and many others, because especially things that affect us day to day. And those are my prayers when it comes to serving and leadership in our great republic.
Amen. Amen to that. Bruce Lavelle, 522 Eastern. Thank you again for joining us on Right Side. I just thought of one more question for you, though. Speaking of 28, 29, we'll see who President Trump endorses. Of course, we trust the president to make, obviously, the right choice, so we'll be voting for that person. However, on the other side of the aisle, do you think from now until then there should be some prosecutions to the people that have done illegal prosecutorial things to President Trump and to we the people in the meantime?
Well, you know, I've always thought that the best healing well, it's always on God's time first and foremost. But second of all, I've always said, and I had this word actually last year about the season of exposure. So a lot of these things, in order for the healing process, they're going to come forward, and it's going to be a little uncomfortable for some, but I think it's part of the healing process. You saw with some of the JFK files, you saw, maybe we'll see what happens with MLK, many other things. Once again, biblically, what's in dark does come to light eventually. So I think this is all going to be part of the healing process in order for us to go forward. And I know there's a lot of people nervous. That's why the President Biden, pardon, they say with the electro pen, hundreds of people. And I always say, what are you worried about a pardon for if you didn't do anything wrong? So, all of those things will come to light. And real quick on this note, my mother always said, baby, they didn't get away with anything. They still got to answer to the Lord, so it doesn't even matter. That was her.
Yeah.
I'm like, but Mom, I want to go beat them up. She said, no. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. God's got this. You just save yourself.
That is the Bible right there. That is the word. We thank you so much again, Bruce, for joining us on the network. Look forward to having you on again soon. Maybe next week would be great to see you. Bruce Lavelle, thank you again for joining us from Atlanta.
All right. Thank you, Matt.
Definitely. All right, Bruce Lavelle there. I remember being at an Atlanta rally where President Trump was calling out Bruce there and just saying, somebody from way back that he knew, and it was great to see that. Let's go from Bruce Lavelle right over to Carla Sands, where also a former ambassador to Denmark under President Trump, also with the America First Policy Institute. Carla, thanks again for joining us on Right Side.
Matthew, it's great to be with you.
So talk to us about your thoughts after two months and change here. We're seeing President Trump do 2 years worth of work.
Yes, maybe more than most presidents achieve in 4 or 8 years, I think, just in these 2 months. It's extraordinary. I'm thrilled. I think most Americans are pinching themselves. I feel like every day's Christmas. Now, the left and the radical Democrats are trying to take him and his team out every single day, and they think they have an opening today. But of course, you know that President Trump now is forewarned from those first 4 years when they targeted him every day from the deep state.
Exactly. The pedal is to the metal, and that is what we want as we the people, because he's saving our country, he and that all-star team of cabinet members. Let's talk about Greenland real quick. We know that Usha Vance, of course, the vice president's wife, in Greenland. I think that actually the vice president might be going there as well on Friday. We're going to be playing a clip that the vice president just put out there. But in general, though, Greenland being a part of the United States would be a good acquisition, wouldn't it?
It would. And Mike Waltz is going, our NSA, National Security Advisor to President Trump. He is going to go visit our air base up in, it used to be called Thule Air Base, up above the Arctic Circle. Now it's Pitofik Space Base. But we can see that the Danish Prime Minister is saying openly to the press throughout the world, this is overreach, this is aggressive by the United States, they are not welcome. She's literally trying to tell the Greenlanders what to think and feel. Now, the Greenlanders want to be independent, and the current Danish Prime Minister is trying to tell Greenlanders what they should do. Very, very patronizing of the Greenlanders who actually are, seeking independence.
Let's talk about that. You bring up a great point. Isn't that what every dictator or communist leader or the mainstream media tries to do to the free world every day of the week?
Well, she is on the far left. She is a social democrat. But she's in a coalition government. This is the fact is the Danes, I think probably on both sides of the aisle, are freaking out that they're about to lose Greenland. They're very upset. Greenland makes them a world player. It makes them an Arctic nation. Otherwise, Denmark is just a tiny country, about like New Jersey, and then with the Faroe Islands. Faroe Islands hasn't really been talking about going independent. Now, Greenland, I'm sure she's threatening them that they're not going to get their welfare payment of about $600 million a year if they don't behave. And she's probably threatening the politicians through her people. And they need that money. but you know that the United States would welcome them, and we would have a lot of support for those people, but more than support, opportunity to build their economy and actually have a secure Greenland.
Exactly. And earlier today, the president meeting with a number of the U.S. ambassadors at the White House. When you were an ambassador to Denmark under the first administration, what was that like, first of all, to be selected for a position like that? How did that work? Did you get a phone call, an email? Walk us through what it was like there.
Sure. So it was a dream of a high school girl in Pennsylvania in a small town. I didn't know about the Foreign Service and that you could have this amazing career being an American diplomat, and anyone can take the test and enter the Foreign Service. So when President Trump, I always hoped, it was my dream to be an ambassador. And when President Trump, when I got the call and he asked me to be his ambassador to Denmark, the Kingdom of Denmark, I was thrilled. And so, of course, I was thrilled to go. I was thrilled to represent every American. It's not a partisan position. It's representing the United States and all its people. So it was really the honor of a lifetime. And to work for someone like President Trump that just says, go do a great job. It was amazing, because then anything is possible. So I was able to put a consulate in Greenland and get, more security for the region, like a Coast Guard billet in Denmark for Arctic security. We really had been ignoring the whole region, and the Chinese Communist Party looks at the world from the top, from the poles, both Antarctica and the Arctic. And so we have to have a presence in both places. We have to have icebreakers, and we have to have capabilities, and we've really fallen behind.
Yeah, I mean, and that's what's great about the president. We're seeing all these advancements happening. We see on the Gateway Pundit about 6 minutes ago that President Trump expertly shuts down Caitlin Collins of CNN after she tried to ask him a gotcha question about the so-called Signal group chat. She called it a scandal. It's not a scandal. I mean, there was no war plans on there. The Atlantic shouldn't even be called that. Maybe we'll just call it the Pacific because we feel like it. At the end of the day, that writer, too, was in a lot of psyops all against President Trump for so many years with Russia, and all that. It's just the mainstream media, again, having nothing else to say, so they've got to say something.
Yes. So he works for the radical widow of Steve Jobs, and she's putting billions of dollars into far left publications like The Atlantic, and she has weaponized it and him. And he has tried to take President Trump down over and over again. So if you see his name pop up, this is bad and it stinks. It's not good and it's not a clean deal. So how did he get on there? Somebody slipped him in. They have a skunk in the works, I think. Yeah. And so they need to find that person and remove them. Remember Alexander Vindman and all that bunch that was at the NSC last administration. They have to clean house a little bit and get back to business. But don't let them knock you off your game. You have to, if the senators are asking questions, it's about the people's business. So they can discuss it in a classified setting. There's nothing to be discussed otherwise in an open setting about this.
Exactly. Jeffrey Goldberg, the so-called reporter at The Atlantic. Let's end on that note here in just a second, as it's 5:31 on this Tuesday, March 25th. I just want to say one more thing about the mainstream media, because a lot of the people that are watching right now, or maybe watching this on replay, we may be preaching to the choir here for a second, but really the fact of the public opinion and the sway of public opinion really happens through the repetition of what the mainstream media would be saying, or these politicians. But that's all going away slowly. Are you seeing a big increase into the conservative media sector out there? I mean, just from your standpoint on the media that you consume.
Yes, I don't look at the news like I used to. I'll be candid. I really was a Fox News viewer for a long time. I was a CNN viewer when they first started. They weren't left. They were middle when I was a young girl. But as a matter of fact, now I watch RSBN, I watch podcasts. I rarely pick up a print newspaper. I'm consuming in different ways. I might look at Twitter, X. I rarely look at Instagram. I never look at Facebook. I mean, that feels like so yesterday. I think we're all consuming news in different ways. And that's how President Trump won, is he harnessed those new medias. Look at Joe Rogan and these different podcasts that are huge. You look at what some of the former television, newscasters were doing, or media personalities, and they now have big podcasts, men and women. I mean, it's exciting. So I consume that sometimes in whole and sometimes in snippets. And I think that's probably, but what I love about RSBN is that you guys, if President Trump is talking, you guys are covering it. And not many networks do that, maybe no other network. And so that's, for me, I want to hear what he's saying, because that's really where I get my policy ideas when I'm talking to Americans or abroad, increasing our trade and security with our allies.
Exactly. It's truth and transparency. It's common sense reporting. It's America First reporting, and it's conservative media greater than mainstream media any day of the week. Carla Sands, thanks again for taking the time with us here on Right Side Broadcasting Network.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Matthew.
Thank you, Carla. All right, so 5:33 as of right now. No major breaking news stories. So if we have any, we will share that with you on this channel. Also, you could follow us on Truth Social and on X. You can go to our website, rsbnetwork.com, or even our app, of course, the RSBN app. All right, so that will wrap up our broadcast for today. You can join us tomorrow as RSBN Live continues on as we cover the president from the White House and also around Washington, D.C., and also outside of the Beltway. We had an interview earlier today with the San Diego County Supervisor talking about something that I don't really want to have to bring up, but it's called the Tijuana sewage problem that's happening there. If you missed any of that interview, you can go and check it out. But also, of course, we did hear from the president speaking with the United States ambassadors earlier today, some executive orders signed. A lot of coverage today on Right Side Broadcasting Network. We're so thankful that you guys are with us. We're all part of it together, we the people, for this Constitution, for this country, and primarily for our God. So let's thank a few sponsors as we end and wrap up this broadcast here on Right Side. Let's go to Colonial Metals Group. All you have to do is go to freegoldguide.com/RSBN for more information on gold and silver through Colonial Metals Group, tax-sheltered IRA, 401k, all backed in gold and silver, and all, as you see there, tax-free as well. Let's go to Free Trump Book, freetrumpbook.com. Enough said there, freetrumpbook.com. Mike Huckabee and his team wrote those books. They're great. Many different topics, including the Kid's Guide to President Trump, freetrumpbook.com. Let's go to the Trump plane, the Trump Force One plane on Patriot Addict Deals, well less than 100 left. So if you want one of these and you want 20% off, just use the RSBN 20 promo code, patriotaddictdeals.com. Get that Trump Force One plane, awesome piece of memorabilia to have right there, patriotaddictdeals.com. Also, mypillow.com/RSBN. Of course, the spring sheet sale. A lot of products on that website. Great discounts there. Use that RSBN promo code. Get up to 50% off everything. Great percentages off, great products, and a great company, mypillow.com/RSBN. It's 5:36, Tuesday, March 25th. Thanks so much for watching. For all of us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network, for Robert McNeely, who was here earlier this in the morning and throughout the day, I'm Matthew Alvarez. Actually, you know what? That's a great question. The producer just reminded me of something. Before we go, there is a vice presidential video that was just posted. So, Director, do we have that ready to go right now? Let's go to that.
Hey guys, it's Shady Vance, the Vice President, and you know there was so much excitement around Usha's visit to Greenland this Friday that I decided that I didn't want her to have all that fun by herself, and so I'm going to join her. I'm going to visit some of our guardians in the Space Force on the northwest coast of Greenland and also just check out what's going on with the security there of Greenland. As you know, it's really important. A lot of other countries have threatened Greenland, have threatened to use its territories and its waterways to threaten the United States, to threaten Canada, and of course to threaten the people of Greenland. So we're going to check out how things are going there. And I say that speaking for President Trump, we want to reinvigorate the security of the people of Greenland because we think it's important to protecting the security of the entire world. Unfortunately, leaders in both America and in Denmark, I think, ignored Greenland for far too long. That's been bad for Greenland. It's also been bad for the security of the entire world. We think we can take things in a different direction, so I'm going to go check it out.
All right, so that was from J.D. Vance, our vice president, moments ago, talking about his trip to Greenland, I guess, this Friday. So I was right from the earlier interview. All right, so that wraps it all up for us here at Right Side Broadcasting Network. This has been RSBN Live. I'm Matthew Alvarez. We'll see you later.
Welcome to Right Side Broadcasting Network, your trusted conservative news outlet. At RSBN, we deliver the truth when the mainstream media falls short. Since 2015, we've proudly broadcasted every single one of President Trump's iconic MAGA rallies, bringing you the excitement and energy live before anyone else. By watching RSBN, you get an unfiltered front row view of the action on the ground. We interview the crowds to give a voice to millions of Americans just like you. We show you President Trump's speeches in their entirety, free from interruptions and censorship. We cover the stories that matter to you with the integrity and passion you deserve. Thank you for choosing RSBN as your home for America First News. Together, we stand strong, united, and informed. So join us and be part of the right side of history.
Hello, this is Mike Huckabee. President Trump said he wants to take back the White House and teach our kids to love our country. That's why my team created the Kids Guide to President Trump. It'll teach your kids all about President Trump's accomplishments and his vision for America. And right now, I want to give it to you for free as part of this free gift bundle.
Get your free gift bundle featuring the Kids Guide to President Trump, a free kids magazine, and the Great Again video lesson by visiting freetrumpbook.com. That's freetrumpbook.com.
Hey y'all, it's Silk from the Diamond and Silk Chit Chat live show. Look, don't forget to check me out right here on RSBN Network. Be sure to watch the show on Right Side Broadcasting Network, and I want you to support Right Side Broadcasting Network. Yes, it's imperative that you do so, okay? I look to see y'all soon. Bye-bye.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard MyPillows absolutely free.